Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the podcast. And first off the bat, before we get into anything else, I need to say I've decided officially we're nixing the intro. We're not doing it anymore. It was a fun ride, it was a fun experiment. It wasn't working. I think we could all feel it was feeling a little forced. It felt like we were trying to make fetch happen. And it felt like every time I was like, John Marie, stop trying to make the intro happen. It's not gonna happen. So we're just gonna and just start the episodes however I feel like it. And if that's welcome back, I'm so excited for today's episode. If that's hello, my loves, welcome back to the podcast. If that's whatever, like it's gonna be whatever. The intro just wasn't working. It felt forced. We could all feel it. Fetch isn't happening. And so moving on. As for the icebreaker, I actually do still like the icebreaker. I think I like it though more as just like I don't really like calling it an icebreaker. Maybe it's more of like a question of the day, or we can like brand it something vibey. I like having a little question. I like having something that like you guys can answer to and like a fun way to kick it off. Or maybe it could be at the end, depending on how much I know what the episode is going to be about, kind of thing, maybe. So I think I'll still kind of stick with that for now, but we'll see. The icebreaker that was going to be for last week that I still wanted to do, which was fun, it was kind of really corny, but they're all corny. It was, what is your theme song for the year going to be? And I was like, I normally hate this song, but then what came to my mind was I've been on such a Jonas Brothers kick lately ever since I watched their Christmas movie because it was genuinely so funny. And honestly, like I love some of their, like there's a whole nostalgia element too has been a big part of it. I've been in like a general like Jonas Brothers, Hannah Montana, all that like vibe. Like I never there's just like that era, even High School Musical kind of stuff, like that era, the feeling that it gives me to listen to those songs and be back there, like it can't be recreated. And I was thinking how special it is that, like, at every age, you have like that era for you and certain media or TV shows or movies or music that will just bring out those like feelings in you. And it's like kind of so special. It can only be like it can't be recreated really. It can only be those things and what those things were for you like at that time in your life. You know what I mean? So anyway, I've been on like such a kick with just like being back in that like kind of fun little like fangirlier, just like corny vibe of just loving like the corny old songs like that. Not even like they're old. I guess they are kind of old, but all of that and just like loving to jam out and just like everything. But the Jonas Brothers, all that to say, I'm not even, a lot of their music style is not my favorite. It's not like like they are all such talented musicians, but it's like they're not totally my music taste. But some of their songs, especially the older ones, I really love. And a lot of their popular ones, whatever. But I have always found them so funny. Like I remember their TV show. I think they had a TV show, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they were on. I remember maybe it was in a movie, but I feel like I remember seeing them in a TV show. I just remember like they had such a funny sense of humor. And I just knew somehow. I've like kind of here and there seen like their presence on social media, more so Joe. I saw his like viral TikTok and then I was looking a little and I was like, oh, like he's actually really funny. And I just feel like they have a really funny dynamic together. So anyway, I really wanted to watch the Christmas movie when I saw they had one because I was like, okay, I feel like even just the inner, teen in me wants to watch this, but also I feel like it's going to genuinely be funny. And I was like, I feel like it'll fit perfectly into like my cozy kind of corny, wholesome Christmas movie vibe that I love over Christmas, which it totally did. And it was hilarious. It was genuinely so funny. They actually have such a smart sense of humor. And I don't know if they wrote it. I don't think they wrote it. So I'm giving them credit where credit's maybe not due. But whoever wrote it like knows their humor, that they're really good at like executing, or just knows like the dynamic that's funny. I don't know what it is, but I know that I laughed a lot and it was genuinely so funny and I enjoyed myself immensely. So then I've just kind of been like in that vibe. And so when this song popped up, I was just like, oh, well, it's my year of fun, right? So I should think of kind of like a fun song. And then first I thought that's just the way we roll, because I feel like first of all, that is a really fun song. I actually remember specifically making like I did like 100 takes of recording myself dancing to this song in my dad's kitchen one weekend that I was staying with him years ago. I don't know what year it was. I'm gonna have to look back and see if I can find the video, and if I can, I'll post it on my Instagram story. I'm pretty sure it was That's Just the Way We Roll. Yeah, that's a good, like that era of music, I just love. Burn It Up, obviously, SOS, literally, I Still Die For. And it's like bringing back so much nostalgia could be like movie nostalgia, portmanteau. Nostalgia of just like being at my friend's house. Like I had this like little like friend group. It was like me and three other girls, and I'm still really good friends with the one of them. The other two we kind of lost touch with, but the one girl was my neighbor, and so we would always hang out at her house after school, and like we would literally be watching like the YouTube videos where people would do like the like fake, like stories, like fan fiction basically via YouTube of like all the Disney stars like Nick and Miley and Jelena and like those like magazines like the Teen Bee and like Tiger, what were they called? Like Pixie. They had all the quizzes. Like, oh my God, I miss that era. Like it's so sad that is not that doesn't like exist for like today's youth. I was thinking too, quick side note, we have a lot to get into in this episode. A lot. But I was thinking too, I want to start on a fun light note. Also, I was gonna say before I forget, I want to paint my nails. I was like, I'm gonna paint my nails during this episode while I'm recording because number one, I feel like it will just help make it like feel light and fun and girly. And also number two, I really wanted to paint my nails. And I was like, wait, why don't I just multitask? Brilliant, especially because I don't need my hands while I'm recording. So like I always hate having to wait for them to dry and stuff. So anyway, also I thought this was hot. Oh, it is hot pink. It looked super red when I looked at it. I have like a bunch of glitter here if you're not watching video, which you probably aren't. I have like this pink glitter, gold glitter, hot pink, this like shimmery pink white. I have this like black crackle sparkle thing. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but yeah, I feel like painting my nails, especially with these kind of colors, also brings me like heals my inner child, but it's like my inner like teen, like my, I don't know, I love it. And it makes me feel just like fun and sparkly and like cool and unique. And like, especially I love painting them all different colors and like not having them like perfectly done. So anyway, it's just like fun and girly. So what was I saying about the era? The magazines? Yeah, it just doesn't exist anymore. And that's kind of sad. I don't remember what else I was saying about that. I think that was basically it. So anyway, I was like gonna say that's just the way we roll. And then I was thinking, ooh, what about Cool would also be another good one, which is like a newer song. But I was thinking the other day, I wasn't planning on giving this little riff, but I just will. Cool, like the word cool, the vibe of cool, and asking yourself questions like, wouldn't it be cool if, or noticing like what you think is really cool in other people. Also, sorry, I'm gonna be looking at the camera less because I'm painting my nails. That's like a hack to immediately identifying like what is actually true to you or what you desire, and asking it in that way kind of helps like bypass any fears or limiting beliefs and filters that you may have that you don't realize. So what I've realized, this is like held true for me all throughout my life. Anytime I see someone, I'm like, oh my God, they're so cool because XYZ. Or like I think a skill makes them that so cool. Or like, if it's a skill they have or a quality they have, the way they talk, the way they present themselves, the way they dress, like anything that I think makes a person cool, something they do or a way they are, it's actually just like it's specifically that like that frequency of cool. Like what I identify as cool. It's not, yes, this can happen too with like jealousy, envy, whatever. And like, yeah, there's a jealousy within the coolness, but it's like coming from this different, like kind of lighter, expansive place, where it's just like, oh my God, like they're so cool. And like, it's like, that's actually showing you, like, that's a mirror. When that comes up, that's a mirror of like who you actually want to be, but not even want to be, like who you are that you want to be stepping into and like setting those parts of yourself free, right? So like, for example, I've always thought like my entire life, oh my God, like it would just be so cool, like to be able to like sing and like play guitar. And like anyone who can play guitar is just so cool, right? And like anyone, like, and that's like what illuminated to me, like when I had my first awakening in 2019, that I was like, oh, I want to teach myself how to play guitar and like start singing and get into this because I've always thought it would be so cool. And like, so why can it be cool for other people and not for me? Right. But it's like that might not be something that other people always look at and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. That'd be so cool to be able to do that. But I did. Right. Because it's my dream. It's not everyone else's dream. It's a part of like who I am, not necessarily for everybody else. Right. This gold is like not really working well, but I want some gold vibes. I also really like this hot pink and I only did on one. Okay, maybe I'll do it on the pinky too. You know, I always thought, oh, it'd be so cool if I could just travel all the time, you know? And lots of different things, you know, and like even now, I notice it come up in different ways, you know? Oh, it would be so cool if I could, I don't even know. Or just like when I went to that, oh, I haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. I'm going to get into it. But like I went to a filmmaking meetup the other day, you know, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like it's so cool that you do, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's just a sign for me, the like cool factor that, oh, this is just an interest I want to explore or a quality I want to explore within myself, right? So like also I've seen it with like, oh, they're so cool, you know, because of like, oh, the way they dress or I love that they do that or that. And it's like, oh, that's showing me that like I want to maybe like put more effort into my personal style or the way I dress, or I want to dress more like that. Maybe even that specifically is a style that I like, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's just about the self-expression or the way somebody talks, you know? Is like, what is that showing me in the way that I want to show up more? That is actually just like a part of my authentic self-expression that's being mirrored and called to come out, you know, whether that's like, oh, talking more confidently or whatever it is, you know? So just notice like the frequency of cool, like notice specifically, ask yourself, right? If you're feeling like confused or stuck or whatever with like your dreams or your visions or anything, what would be so cool if it could be true or if it could happen, you know, or if I could do this, you know, if I could make money doing this or, you know, who do I think of as a really cool person? Or if I think of like, if I were to make up like a fake imaginary cool person, like what would they be? How would I describe them? Right. It's a little bit of a different angle than coming at it from like my higher self, you know, it's because it's almost like grounding it a little bit more in reality and in like tangible in a way. And also feel like it just helps bypass again the limiting the limitations in your mind sometimes when you ask those kind of questions. But it's just like, if I could like design the coolest person ever, like what would be true about them? You know, like if I think about that right off the bat, I'm like, okay, well, they would, you know, they would definitely be like an artist and a performer and they would travel a lot and they would have like this specific style, you know, or they would like have all different kinds of style. They wouldn't really have one type of style that they wear, you know what I mean? Like they could like pull off anything or they would speak multiple languages and or she whatever, you know, like she would always have her nails painted or she would this and that and this is how she would go through her day, you know? And then I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. That's just actually like who I want to be or like who I am, right? It's just like reflect pulling out my truth, you know? And I'm like, "Oh shit. So I guess like being able to speak multiple languages would actually be really cool to me. Maybe that's something that like I want to look into, you know?" So I just think that's a fun way to look at things. So anyway, I was thinking cool would be a cool song, a good song. And then I was also thinking, oh, Cake by the Ocean. That's not from Jonas Brothers specifically. It's from Joe's band, I think, which is they're called like DNCE, I think, or something. Just because it kind of popped into my head and I was like, that just feels like a fun song and it's like year of fun and it also feels like kind of fun and luxurious and like weird and different, you know, and I just saw a video the other day that was about like how they wrote that song and I guess someone said, oh, we were having so many cake by the oceans, and someone was like, oh, you mean sex on the beach, and they were all laughing. So it's all also represents kind of like a messy, like, you know, different like imperfection, like it's not really the thing, but also like the idea of like cake by the ocean feels so free and expansive and fun. So like that could be kind of a fun one. And that's also like a really hard like party song or like that's like a fun song to dance to. So anyway, I think those are the songs I'm gonna go with for now for my theme song of the year. Let me know in the comments or send me a message what your theme song of 2026 is going to be and just have fun with it. I think the reason I used to not like questions like that is because I tend to like put so much pressure on them and overthink them, but I'm getting a lot better. I think just like with my own personal growth, I'm getting a lot better at not overthinking things like that and just being like, oh, what's the first thing that popped up? Yep, cool. I'm not needing like a perfect answer. So, okay. Have I been stalling a little bit or have I just been having fun with the intro? I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous for this episode, you guys. It feels a little bit vulnerable, even though it's not, it's like no more vulnerable than any of the other episodes that I've had. I think I mean, I've been, this is what I'm going to talk about is something that I've kind of been, uh, like marinating with or like coming to terms with, processing, I guess you could say, for like over the past week. So I feel like I know what I want to say and I feel like, convicted and clear in what I want to communicate and how I want to communicate it. But also I don't know. I think I'm like there's so much I want to say and I really want to articulate it how I want to articulate it and I don't want to miss anything. So I do last night I like ended up didn't even like mean to or plan to just writing out a bunch of notes and like little thought blurbs just of like what I want to say because I want to not be all over the place with this. I kind of want to be intentional in the way that I present it. And that's kind of also a general, I feel like I'm ready to, it's interesting in general. I'll say this. I've been very much letting myself flow very openly, almost like, with like I would say maybe like an 80-20 flow to like structure recently. And, ideally you always would kind of have like an even balance. I've been like a little more to the flow side, and that's what I needed. But it's so interesting always how this happens, no matter what area this is within, like structure and flow or any other duality, how you, by doing that, you naturally just start to have the desire to come back into balance. And so I felt myself within my just life in general and like then showing up in little ways with like how I create and within work and with the podcast of like, oh, I'm ready to bring some more structure back now. It's like I needed to let myself kind of just be like the water on the table. We always use the analogy of like the water needs the glass, and it's like I kind of needed to just spill all over the floor for a bit.
Right.
And that like felt good, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to like have my glass and like flow within my glass again. Um and like I love that too because it's like I think sometimes again I know I've kind of talked about this already, but people are afraid. Like sometimes that is what you're needing. If you've been so out of balance one way, and then you're kind of like, oh, well, I should be able to just balance perfectly, right? Oh, if I was like 80-20 this way, I should be able to just go to 50-50. Sometimes you need to go 80-20 the other way and then land back at 50-50, and like trust that it will naturally bring you back like it did for me. Because I was like, kind of like, oh, should I be having more structure? And I was like, but this is what feels good right now. And then naturally I'm like, oh, okay, like I actually want to do this and this and this, and kind of like bring a little more self-discipline back, in different ways. But with the podcast, I felt like, yeah, I just want to be a little more intentional and not, I mean, I love being all over the place, but I think the thing is like it's still going to be all over the place, right? Even with a little bit more intention and structure. I'm definitely not going to be writing an outline for every episode, but just kind of knowing like, what stories do I want to tell, or like, what is, it's not that I don't come in knowing like what I want to talk about today, but I don't know. I think, which I feel like it's going to be a theme of this episode, I think it's more of just like a shift for me and my approach, like my mindset, my intention and energy going into it, less than it is like tangibly a difference, or like what you guys are going to feel be different. But I think also because I do want to, I've been listening to a lot of other podcasts recently, and I don't think I've talked about this on the pod. I talked about it a little bit actually last week of how I was enjoying learning again. Okay, wait a minute. Do I want to, is this hand? Okay, let me do a little more gold in this hand actually. But I gave a little more, I talked a little about it in my recent post and also in my Icons Only group, which by the way, join that because I've been actually like pretty active in there and I actually really love it in there. And I'm actually, and actually, and not the actually, because the apparent, and apparently, I think I'm going to be taking a little bit of a social media break, maybe just for a week, maybe a little bit longer, starting like today, aside from like also post about the podcast, but I'll get into that later, maybe. If I remember. No, I think I will. But that's somewhere where I can like still connect with you guys and like you can still hear from me and stuff and get updates and whatever. I can share my thoughts even when I'm not on social media. So join that group if you haven't already. It's not like it's like literally just a group like for the girlies. It's not like a coaching group. It's not just for blah blah blah. Like yes, I will share stuff specifically around like success and like entrepreneurship and whatever, but also just about like manifestation and just like my life and my breakthroughs. It's just kind of like a little more of a behind the scenes. It's almost like my public diary, if you will, which like all of these things, like podcast kind of is too, but in like a different way. It's like I like it there. So it's fun. We hang out, we vibe. So go join that group. So anyway, I was sharing this revelation I had, kind of that extended off of what I was saying last week of how I realized that I was actually enjoying learning again. It was actually two kind of things that I realized opened me back up to that. I think I kind of shared last episode was number one was once I finally released myself of that like feeling like I need to be the expert thing, then I realized I naturally opened myself to receiving inspiration from so many more people and places and sources because I wasn't closed off from receiving that, because I wasn't like, what was closing me off was like, well, I need to know the best and be the best. And so therefore, like, I shouldn't be needing like to receive from other people, or I don't want to hear from you because I already know everything kind of thing. It wasn't conscious. It was like, that sounds like so like egoic, but that was kind of what was happening, right? It was like from a fear and protection, right? But since I was able to really drop that, I just naturally opened like, oh, I'm actually really excited to like be activated by this person or be inspired by this person. And maybe I know it, maybe I don't, but I'm really just not filtering it through that anymore. I'm not filtering through anything. I'm just like letting myself open to receiving like, maybe there's something here for me. What's here? You know what I mean? And letting myself be inspired by other people, by other women. I feel like before I was just so much in this like, almost like I didn't want to be inspired by other people in a way, or people who had like done what I want to do specifically, because it was like too triggering in a way. I don't even know. Like it wasn't conscious again, but now I'm just really enjoying letting myself be inspired by other people and being like, yeah, girl, like maybe you do know better than me, and like who cares? It's not about like who knows what. It's just about everyone's, like frequency activation and self-expression. So, okay, I think this hand is good. I didn't put any black on though, and I kind of wanted to, but I think it's gonna look weird, so maybe next time. All right, next hand. And the other thing was, so I noticed basically what I realized happened is because I've been creating so much more and prioritizing creativity so much more, my desire to consume just naturally returned, because it wasn't that I was burnt out on consumption. It was just that I was consuming so disproportionately to the amount I was creating. So everything was coming in and nothing was coming out. Nothing was being alchemized. It's a beautiful process of alchemy, I realized, because not only am I like creating space to consume more because I'm creating so much more and expressing so much more, but also like I'm excited to consume because it's like actually fueling my creativity. It's actually inspiring, even on social media. Like, in moderation still, social media still has its like bad things, but I even feel less burnout just with social media or consuming on social media, because in general, I'm just like enjoying consuming and like, excuse me, learning, like hearing people's perspectives and like letting them spark ideas in me or interests or questions. And like, again, kind of letting that even fuel my creative process and like alchemizing everything that I'm taking into art in some way, and just into like, how it's transforming my own experience. So it's like I'm open to like receiving a lot more in all of those ways, because I'm like allowing that and I'm actually like doing something with it all. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's been really cool. But all that to say, I have been listening to some new podcasts, and I have noticed specifically with these two. One guy I've been listening to because I've been like going down this rabbit hole of acting, which again we'll get into in a minute. He actually played two on Stranger Things, and he has this like kind of acting school, and he makes YouTube videos that are very, very informative. And the other person was Florence Given, who like we love, right? She's an icon, true icon. And I just realized like how well spoken they both are, and how like clear and intentional their videos were, and like for Florence, like her podcast, which is also a YouTube video. And I was just like, I want to be more like that, And again, it really wasn't coming from a place of like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm so messy, like my podcast is bad. I love my podcast and I love it exactly the way it is. And it was just kind of I feel like I can do better and I want to do better thing. Like I think I've mentioned this before with like the public speaking. Like I want to improve my craft. And I feel like now that I'm saying this, I maybe mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but I actually do. I want to keep working on that, and I want to just like be more intentional, almost like treating the podcast like art too, not just like that messy expression. Because with art, yes, you're expressing freely, raw emotion authentically, and there's intention behind it, right? Sometimes it's full improv, right? But even with like dance, you're expressing, and a lot of time there's choreo, right? Or there's guidance. Or with music, like, yeah, you're expressing fully and freely, but there's intention and, the harmonies and the melodies and the way you write the lyrics. And with poetry, like all art, it's a balance. Like with everything, there's a balance, right? And so I think I'm ready to like bring a little more balance and like actually like, try a little to like not like try to make the podcast good because it's already good, but like hold myself a little to a little bit of a higher standard, I guess you could say, that it's genuinely coming from a place of like love and excitement and devotion to my craft and to my art. You know what I mean? So, anyway, all that to say, I don't even know how I get on that really. I think just that I'm trying to speak better, speak more intentionally, and have a little bit more of a flow, because the thing is, it's more powerful for you guys too, and for me, because it's a little bit of work, even like with writing, it's always it's work to take that raw material and to funnel it through, like that refinement period, whatever it is, right? And that's what makes it so beautiful. Like when someone makes a movie, right? You have the story and the idea and the characters, and then you're going through this very intentional refinement process of how do I communicate it in the way that is as powerful as possible. That's what I do when I write songs and with everything. And so it's like I want to apply that to the podcast too and challenge myself with my, ability to refine and my storytelling and public speaking. I am hearing such a high ringing in my ears right now. It just started maybe 10, 20 seconds ago. When that happens, what is that? Is that like a spiritual thing? Is that like a like it's I don't know if I've ever heard a frequency this high pitched in my ear before. Like, what is that? What is that, you guys? That's wild. Okay, it's starting to fade away. That was crazy. It was like so much that it was actually distracting me. So anyway, that's where we're at with the podcast. So, okay, to get into the episode, we're probably like already half an hour and I'm not even going to look. This is going to be a long one. Okay, I'm owning it. I'm saying it up front. This is going to be a long one. So, what's funny? I was going to say like get cozy, get your drink. People always say that, but it's like with podcasts, like that's the last thing you're doing. Like who who is sitting down and just like, listening to a podcast, staring at the wall? Or I guess you could be like watching the video on YouTube if you are, but like with podcasts specifically, it's like no one's really getting cozy and listening to this. It's like you're on your drive, you're probably listening to it in parts throughout your day. You're maybe making breakfast, cooking, on a walk. So whatever you're doing, get cozy in the moment, I guess. But I don't really know what to say. It's like, or, get cozy if you want to watch it on YouTube and like, make it an experience. But, the thing is like podcasts are also meant to be consumed via audio. That's why they're a thing, right? And they're not video. So I still feel confused about like how much I want to make video, how much I want to make audio. But anyway, it's going to be a long one. All right. And I feel like I said before, it feels like a big shift and like a big kind of reveal to me, but also at the same time, I'm like, oh, it's actually not that big of a deal. And I feel like I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but anytime somebody like pivots, quote unquote, I feel like it feels like such a big deal to them. And then to everyone on the outside, they're like, oh, so nothing's really actually changing that much, And like sometimes it's like, yes, things change more than others. Sometimes it's like a hard pivot. Sometimes it's like a soft pivot. Normally it like feels like a hard pivot to you, even if it is kind of a soft pivot or not even a pivot, but just like a change, a letting go of something. You know what I mean? I think that's because, we build it up so much and we have the strongest like identity attachments within ourselves, And I think also a lot of the time, when somebody finally like claims or announces a pivot or a decision like that, and everyone else who's been like witnessing you has already seen you kind of, because normally by the time you're at that point where you're ready to like own it and claim it and commit to it, and announce it, whatever it is, like you've already been you've already been changing and shifting slowly and like, bringing more of that in and becoming that person, right? So it's like this is just kind of the final, it's like you've already became that person, right? Nobody like announces a pivot really before the evolution has begun, because the evolution is what like guides you there to having that epiphany and that realization and claiming that, So I feel like I was talking about with the way that the podcast episodes, because they're following my journey, they perfectly flow into each other. It's like I feel like, when I share this, it's going to kind of be like, oh, duh. It's like everything I've been saying. It's just with like a new lens of clarity, like with more clarity around it all, and there's still definitely more clarity to even come. But yeah, I feel like I have to blow my nose. I've been noticing when I do the podcast, something about talking for a long period of time, it like makes me kind of congested and like have to blow my nose, but I can't because I'm painting my nails. They're wet. Okay. Okay. So I don't even know like where to start. I mean, I wrote notes. I want to take you back. I want to take you back to the beginning and kind of take you along the journey to the breakthrough, so you can kind of like experience it the way I did almost, although it's going to sound super obvious when I explain it, like when I tell it this way, because I'm going to be highlighting all the signs along the way. So should I just start there? I know like I already know what I'm going to title this, so you kind of have an idea. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna take it, let's just take it back, and I'm just gonna walk you through to kind of where I am and like what this pivot, quote unquote, and what I mean by graduating from the coaching industry is. Okay, so looking at my notes. Take it back. And again, some of this might be repetitive, but I'm gonna actually just disclaim right here and now, some of this might be repetitive. I may have mentioned certain things on the podcast before, but I'm just going to be repetitive if I am repetitive and say things, because I hate questioning myself in the moment and being like, oh, wait, did I already say that? Like, oh, I don't want to bug you with that again if I already said, like, fuck that. In general, I feel like I've noticed a little bit of like holding back and like not letting myself fully take up space on the podcast. And I had a moment last week after recording where I was like, why am I like in the moment questioning myself and kind of like holding back or like worried, like feeling like I need to disclaim things, or like being afraid to take up space and really own like what I'm saying and just everything about my expression on the podcast, as if everyone tuning in is not choosing to listen and could easily choose to not listen if they didn't want to. It's just like crazy how sometimes you hold yourself back from taking up space and from owning your power, even when you think you don't realize you're doing it. So I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to go for it. I might still accidentally do it, but I'm not going to, I'm going to try not to. Okay. So take you back. My entire life, like I already mentioned, I have had dreams of being in music, being in honestly like the entertainment industry in some way, being involved with movies, music, performance. Like even I can think back to when I was younger. I mean, I took piano lessons, but it wasn't really attached to any of that. My lessons were like, jazz and classical, and that's why I quit, because it wasn't really like, lighting me up. But I was always super into music. Like I knew I always was interested in music. I just didn't, I had those limiting beliefs for a long time about like, oh, I could actually make music and perform. And so I always kind of would default to like the behind the scenes, like the back end stuff. But I remember even in high school thinking about like, what do I want to do? And like, I remember, I think my mom like told me about this job that was like, you're the person who picks out music in post, like for movies and TV shows. And I was like, oh, that could be cool. And I was like, I had kind of dreams of like being involved in post production, like video editing on like in the film industry, basically. And like dreams, like I always like thought about moving to California, even like I like kind of delusionally like was researching like arts colleges in California, even though like I knew I wasn't gonna do that. And yeah, but I was looking into that kind of stuff at the time. And so it was kind of like, yeah, at this stage in my life, I was still very much like just playing small in all ways. So, I was in digital media. I did digital media for 4 years in school. I did a photography class, but I still was very much behind the scenes with everything. And then I went to school for digital media, but it was still very much behind the scenes stuff. And then even the reason I went into computer science was because I was like afraid to be an entrepreneur and freelance with digital media. But I just always had those like kind of dreams and like thought about, oh, it'd be so cool to be just involved in this industry in some way, with music and film and TV and like Hollywood, really like Hollywood always like gave me that like starry-eyed feeling, you know what I mean? And I'd always thought just about moving to California and like moving to California would be cool, and I still do, and I still don't know like what's there fully with that, but even the first time that I ever visited LA, first and only time I ever visited LA, and it was only for a weekend. And I kind of want to go back just because I'm curious how it would compare to then. Because when I went then, I felt like when I went immediately, like I stepped off the plane and it was like, I felt this like feeling of possibility. It felt like so expansive and light. And I was just so excited to be there. Like we went to see these local musicians performing and I was just so into it. I loved the vibe of being there. And I'm like, it could have also been contributed to like the fact that I went there in March, so it was like the middle of Buffalo winter and I got off the plane. It was like 80 and sunny. Like that could have contributed to it. And at the time I was vegan and there was like vegan restaurants and cafes on every corner. So like I'm curious how it would feel like right now where I'm at and who I am, but I just remember having that experience and yeah, just always, then when we were there, we toured Warner Brothers Studios and I remember like seeing the movie sets and just learning about the behind the scenes and being like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like I want to be involved in this in some way. I want to be on a set. Like I don't know how, I don't know like what I would want to even do on a set, but I like this is so cool. And I always felt pulled by those things. And then even when I did start to have, but I also like kind of put them down. Like I had those thoughts and literally like it sounds so funny now, but it's like I would have those thoughts all throughout my life and just kind of like dismiss it then and be like, yeah, and just kind of like go on with my life and not take them seriously, And then so, in 2019 when I had my whole awakening and started realizing all the limits I was putting on myself and it started getting into personal growth and everything, I had the realization of, oh my God, wait, like I've always thought it would be so cool to travel and to play music and be a singer and play guitar. I'm going to do that. And that's when I started actually getting into music and writing my songs and taught myself to play guitar and took voice lessons and started performing at open mics. And that's what led to all that, right? And that was kind of like the first layer. I still didn't really ever think about the other stuff. And I've even also I've always also throughout my life in the back of my mind been like, yeah, I'm probably gonna like make a film someday. I don't know, maybe like a documentary. I've always had this like thought in the back of my mind of like some kind of documentary where I travel. It's something with traveling and, just real human moments and connection and stories, something like that. But and it wasn't really fleshed out. It wasn't like it was just kind of in the back of my mind. And I would always be like, yeah, that would be so cool to do one day. That cool, right? That would be so cool to do one day. That cool comes up a lot in this story. And I've also will randomly, and the funny thing is with anything like you discover about yourself, you never realize like it's a normal to you. So you don't realize that it's unique because it's you. It's normal to you, but you are unique, And it's like, oh wait, like other people don't do that? Like doesn't everyone do that? Doesn't everyone think it would be cool to do that, And like no, like your dreams are very unique and not everybody has them. And so another thing is I would always just like be lifing. And then I would randomly be like, oh, this would make such a good movie scene. Like I would like start writing scenes in my head and like visioning it and I would like see the scene playing out and I would start writing a story behind it in my head and just kind of like have a moment and have fun with it and then like move on. And I've had thoughts like sometimes when those have happened of like, man, like that would be so cool to like actually make into a thing. I feel like that would be really powerful. Like maybe I could just like make a compilation of these scene moments that I have in my head. Sometimes I would even just like do monologues in the shower, in the car that were just like express. This is kind of a like way that I like to that helps me just express myself in general or like feel and process emotion is just like having my own dramatic moment as if I'm like in a monologue, but I'm not, you know? So it's just like I have always had, like, if you look back, the signs are all there of my interests in this entire field, you know, of artistry and of entertainment and all of it and creativity. And even too, I've also always known, I've just always, and I'm still even like, I feel a little bit of like resistance to saying this out loud because it's obviously not really true yet. And I think there are still some fears around it too. That's almost like I'm afraid of acknowledging the truth, but I've always known I'm gonna be famous. Like I know it sounds kind of so dumb to say. I've always known that I am in some way. You know, I've just known I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be known. And it's funny, like my brother and I actually have this running joke of like who's gonna become famous first. And so it's just funny looking back on all those things. It's like, you know, but I think, you know, that all created, it was like I had a lot of incentive to not acknowledge all of those things, you know, from like a fear standpoint, right? My brain was like very incentivized to not encourage me to notice those things or to take them seriously. You know what I mean? And I think I have always kind of, you know, pursued those things in a way, but kept myself a lot behind the scenes in like video editing, post production, even coaching, you know, just like in a lot of ways because I was not ready yet to actually let myself be the one and like on the other side of the camera when actually I think that's really where I'm meant to be. I genuinely enjoy being on both sides. I love the entire creative process. But it's like if I had to pick one, the one that excites me and lights me up the most, at least especially right now, or like, you know, in my wildest dreams, it's like being the star in a way, you know? And it's and I've God, it like I feel it's like stretchy for me to even say that, you know, because also I'm very new to a lot of this kind of stuff. I have no like acting experience, for example. I'm still pretty new in dancing. I'm like far from like a quote unquote performer. Other like music's where I feel the most comfortable performing. And it's like I don't even know necessarily, you know, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. Like what I'm really interested in. I don't have like a big specific vision, but what I've come to realize is just, oh, I've actually been really ignoring this like huge area of desire and creative passion and mode of expression in my life. So, you know, I even tried different paths to, you know, I feel like content creation always felt like the easiest in for me. And so that's where I started. And I was like, oh, and I don't need, you know, a ton of talent to, you know, you do need talent. But from my perspective, I was like, oh, like there's a lower barrier to entry, right? Like, which there is a lot of the time. And, you know, I tried to have my whole YouTube path where I tried to be a vlogger and I tried to be a beauty guru and like did makeup videos on YouTube. And then I tried to like grow an Instagram with makeup and then I kind of fell off that. And then, you know, I kind of here and there would post music stuff on TikTok and whatever. And then, you know, I kind of, you guys already know like the path to how I started my business and started like doing content creation in this way. But, you know, it was kind of like I always had these dreams in the back of my mind and almost like then in execution, I would shrink them as much as I could to still kind of have like a speck of the dream and the desire, but like in the safest way possible. That still felt super scary because I was just so far back from, you know what I mean? Like I just had so much to grow in terms of working through those fears of my own like relationship with my emotions and self-expression, visibility, being seen, all of it. And so that's kind of just like a background of like taking you back of like when I look back on my life, things that have always really lit me up and it felt exciting to me. And like where I started with music, especially, that was kind of like where I started. And when I started my, again, spiritual growth, personal growth journey, I actually like, I was pretty consistent. Like when I got into music, taught myself guitar, started writing songs, started singing, started performing, like from 2020, 2019, actually, to 2023, I was pretty consistently writing, playing, performing. Like I wasn't consistently going to open mics because I was still really scared. But like I was doing it all pretty, like I was like writing, at least every couple months, and I just had like a much more active relationship with music during that time. And it was pretty much, even when I left my job, I was still writing and playing pretty regularly, and I would use it. I was going through a lot of hard times throughout that period, and I would use music as a way to help myself process and get through everything, right? And it was basically that entire time until I met Sindri, started my business, that whole, new cycle started in 2020, late 2022. Yeah, end of 2022, that music started falling to the back burner. And I would say it was really when my business started, because I was even still writing, I think, once I met Sindri. And then it was like early 2023 is when it kind of started to fall away, because I just went so tunnel visioned into coaching and growing my business. And you guys know my whole journey with coaching and everything, so I can kind of like fast forward through that part. That's all well documented. But what I will say is that even like through the whole past 2.5 years that I've been growing my business, I've always kind of felt and had an awareness. You guys, I still have that ringing in my ear, by the way. What is that? I'm gonna take a drink. Like, I think it was very exciting and like kind of like shiny to me when I first got in, because I was like, oh my God, like this is a way that I can make money and still feel free, essentially. And I do love coaching. I love problem solving. Like I'm really good at it. I'm good at coaching. And I was like, oh, and content creation and this and that. Like there were a lot of reasons why it appealed to me. But I think, after I got into it, I did kind of always have this awareness in the back of my mind. Sometimes it was very, very small, of like, this is not meant to be my thing, quote unquote, right? Not that you need to have one thing, you absolutely don't. But it was like, I always kind of had this mindset that I didn't really even fully acknowledge, of like, this is like a stepping stone to more for me. Like I said, I always knew I was gonna be famous. I always knew I was gonna like have big impact. But there was like, I knew in the deep down, I knew like this was a stepping stone to more. But like kind of consciously, what was in the front of my awareness was like not accepting that, and was kind of always looking at everything of like, oh, well, now it's all within coaching. Like coaching is my thing, and I'm going to be famous through coaching. Like as a coach, I'm going to grow my coaching business, and that's how I'm going to have impact and grow this big community and whatever, and like, and almost like, and I'll grow really big and successful in coaching. And then I'll have more money and I'll have more resources. I'll have more of a community and following. So then I'll be able to like do music or do other things, because I'll almost have this like safety net, and I'll be more resource for it. So it like, and I wasn't like fully conscious of this, and it would kind of come and go into my awareness. I always would have, and I would know like, I miss music. I know I'm meant to do music. I know I'm meant to pursue it more. And I'm going to prioritize it again. I'm going to come back to it, but I'm just not ready yet. The timing's not right. And I would tell myself over the past 2 years, like, I'm going to come back to it when the time is right. The timing's not right now, right? And which it wasn't fully, because I wasn't resourced. And, like I was just so stressed a lot of the time because of my financial situation and putting so much pressure on building the business. I couldn't even, you know what I mean? Let myself detach from that. And I absolutely wasn't ready to see, like, oh, maybe I should just go to that now. And it wasn't meant to. Like, my time growing my coaching business wasn't a mistake at all. I think I absolutely got everything I needed from it. And it's not over either. But I just kind of like knew that. And I would always compare it to, throughout the time growing my business, not always, but it would come up time and time again, of like how easily things happened when I was pursuing music or doing things related to music, and like really how supported I felt. And it was like, with anything music related, it was always pretty much like I could just show up and do the thing, and then like I would be so successful. Like I had to put in such little effort, and I would just receive so much encouragement naturally, like unsolicited validation, and like things would just always work and flow and like fall into my lap. it was like I was going with the current, right? Which is like how manifestation is supposed to be when you're aligning, right? And I think that's maybe even, could be partially why I pursued coaching instead, because at that point in time, I just wasn't ready for that level of ease. I still was very much like, well, I need to struggle to make money and I need to force and like work and effort my way there, And like maybe subconsciously there was a part of me that knew that like, oh, and like this is perfectly how I can get that, right? Like I don't know. But definitely with coaching it never flowed the way I thought. And two, I feel like I kind of knew, but again, it was just so like buried in my awareness. I knew like I'm too good for this to not be flowing way more than it is, like, and I think I kind of knew that was a sign. Like I was like, there's something off here because I'm really good at this, and it almost felt like I always had just enough success to get me by, even though I had a lot of success. And like, yes, starting a business is difficult and like grow small and all these things. But like, I think it was just the way that I felt about it. And yes, there was also just my patterns I had to work through and a lot of other stuff. But it just, it never, maybe in the beginning, but that could have also just been like the, wave of excitement of starting my own business and just doing my own thing. I don't know. And it wasn't that like, and I don't want to like look back and paint it wrong. I loved building my coaching business. Like I was very passionate about it at the time, and like growing my coaching business was what I felt passionate about, and it was a big dream. So I'm not like looking back and saying like, oh, and actually like it sucked and I never had fun. Like I didn't actually like it and I wasn't actually passionate about it. Like I definitely was. I'm just like looking back with, hindsight and being like, I did kind of feel underlying deep down like something's off. And at the same time, though, there were things I really, really loved about it. And so not to discount that at all. Okay. So, yeah. So kind of like to stay within that era for a little bit longer. While I was growing my coaching business, I always kind of like every now and then would come back of like, oh, I miss music. Oh, I miss, I miss creating. I miss this. And it was, again, I would always kind of be like, okay, well, I can bring that back into my business, right? Like I can like create more freely within my business and this and that. And again, a lot of the time that was what I needed, and that did work because I was still really passionate about those things, about those goals of getting coaching clients and growing my business and having lunches and things like that. That did excite me. But I also, there would be just like moments where I'd almost be like pulled back to like reality, quote unquote, like pulled back to truth, and then I would kind of be like, oh, yep, that like super hits. That totally lands. Yep, absolutely. And then I would just go back to like, okay, I'm building my coaching business and like focusing on these goals still, And one moment that sticks out in my mind was I got like a mini intuitive reading from this girl just because I reviewed her podcast. She was like giving away mini like channeled readings in DMs if you review my podcast. So I did. And it was funny because she actually like forgot to send me the message for like a really long time. And then I don't know, she randomly remembered, or I like replied to her story or something in the future. And she was like, oh my God, I just realized I never gave you your message, and gave it to me. And what she had asked me, like, what's your biggest, vision, dream, and goal? And when I responded, I was like, I didn't like talk about coaching at all. And I didn't even realize this. Like, I was like, oh, I want to have events and like, perform and like tour and travel. And like, I talked about like speaking and being on stages and all these things, and writing a book and all these things. And she responded and she was like, basically, okay, so I think, and this was like a year or two ago, she was like, I think that you are like focused right now on coaching and like growing your coaching business, but actually your dreams are way bigger than that, and you kind of need to let yourself like step beyond this and like focus on those bigger visions and those bigger dreams that you have. And like, yeah, you can still coach. This is literally how she said it. I gotta like go back and listen to it again. She was like, no, yeah, you can still coach, but like focus on these dreams. Like what you want to do is much bigger than just coaching or being within the coaching industry. And there's a lot of identity work that is going to need to happen for you to be able to own that. That's literally what she said. I have chills, like word for word. And I was like, oh my God, yes, that hits so much. And then I essentially did nothing with it for, I don't know, like a year or two. And then another intuitive reading that I may have mentioned before, like that I was actually, like I won in June or July of last year, and she actually ended up sending it until like October, I think it was, or maybe August. Maybe it was like June to August, late August. So I got it like late August, kind of around the time Sindri got here and all of that. And she said something, and this around this time I was also when Sindri moved, I was like starting to get all of these music signs again, like so many signs of like being like, okay, Drummery, like it's time. That time is coming to like you've been saying, the time's coming to bring music back. You know, like it's gonna come. Like it's coming. It's here. Like it's now time. And literally, I feel like I've told the story before, but when Sindri got here, we were moving around furniture and making space for him and stuff. And literally, we had to like the piano was in the second bedroom, and I kind of never really used it, the keyboard. And we had to literally move it out into like the middle of the living room. And I was like, oh my God, like I've been like all week having all these signs and pings about prioritizing music again and getting back to writing and playing and everything like that. And literally the universe is like shoving it in my face, is literally like putting it out in front of me, like literally pushing it in my face. Like like taking it out of the bedroom into the main room. It's in the middle of the floor. Like it was so funny. And then I got this reading and she started talking about like a career shift or career change. And I was listening and I was like, I already know. Like, I was like, don't tell me you're about to say something about music. And she starts giving these examples of like, she's like, it feels like a career pivot. And she's like, I'll give some examples. Like I had this recent friend who was like in the health and wellness space her whole life and suddenly decided that she wanted to be a musician and a poet. And now she's pursuing that. And then I had this other friend who was like in tech. And then he all of a sudden at 40 decided he wanted to quit and become an actor. And he's doing that. And I was like, I still wasn't fully ready to receive it at that time. But she said that and I was like, yeah, okay. But I just, it was all these little pieces coming over time of like, essentially, you know, time, like the idea of pivoting to more arts focused, creativity focused, I guess, instead of just coaching, and growing a business even. And so coming, forward to, like the end of this past year and this new year, you guys already know I've been talking a lot about like creativity and fun. And like creativity is just a word that kept coming up and kept lighting me up. And it was so interesting because the first realization that I had that really led me to this whole breakthrough and epiphany and like what I'm sharing in this episode was how I kept trying to fit everything into the coaching box and the business box and like the coaching, like the box of growing my coaching business and being a coach. And it was like any ping I had or like pull that I felt was like, okay, that must fit within coaching and business in some way, right? So like I kept being like creativity, creatives, even the word influencer kept coming through, even like artists, like those are words that kept lighting me up. But I would be like I knew, yeah, I was wanting to be more creative, but I would be like, oh, okay, so like, is my ideal client changing? Like, okay, like in the word like influencer and like creative is lighting me up. Like, is that because I actually want to work with influencers and creatives, right? It wasn't like, oh, do I want to? And there was kind of a little bit of awareness around that, but it was like, I was still like, how is this applying to my work and my growing my coaching business, And even like in the new year, I was like, I want to do more in-person things. I want more socialization and more, I want to go to more events and things. And my brain immediately was like, okay, I want more in person. So like, do I want to like do in-person events, like for my business? Like, do I want to lead in-person things, right? Or go to in-person networking events? Or it was like, okay, so how does this relate to me being a coach, right? And it was like, I had this moment where I was like, wait a minute. Like, what if I have a desire to just do more in-person things in general, like in life as a human, not within the context of my coaching business. And I think it was a part of a greater thing where I was like having this inability to like look at anything outside of the context of my coaching business because I still had this like just pressure of like, gotta make money, gotta be successful. And like, essentially like I'm wrong for having any intentions or like pouring my energy into anything that's not related to like a direct path to that, in some way was kind of the framework that like, I've operated under my entire life in a way, not always consciously, a lot of the time, not consciously, most of the time, not consciously. And so it was just funny, like I had this breakthrough, and yeah, it was like even my intention in the beginning of the year of like creative fulfillment, I was like, I just want to feel creatively fulfilled. I want to collaborate with people and like make something beautiful. And like that was I was just like, I want to feel like creatively fulfilled and I want to collaborate and connect with people was like my biggest thing. And even still, I was like, so how does that look within coaching? Like, oh, what could that look like? I wonder how that will unfold. Am I gonna like collaborate with people and like put together a retreat or like an event or like a group? Like I wasn't letting myself see outside of that box. I was like so tunnel visioned still into like I am a coach and my goal is to grow my coaching business, and I could feel parts of me pulling, like tugging and like pulling me away from it, but it was like I had all these blind spots. And so how I kind of like fully like what fully blew open this realization was when I went to the filmmaking meetup last week. And it's such a fun little story. Honestly, the whole day was so beautiful because even the way I found the filmmaking meetup, I was just Googling for like local events to go to, local creatives, local community, whatever. I don't even know like how I came across it, but I just saw the Facebook invite for like local Buffalo filmmakers community meetup. And it was the way it was written really pulled me in because it was very welcoming and very much like, whether you're, a current, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an existing, I don't know, a whatever, screenwriter, filmmaker, whatever, or like you're just interested in like learning about the scene or like you're a total beginner, like everyone is welcome, just come hang out, real conversations. Like it was super low pressure. And I was just like, that sounds kind of cool. And I just kind of felt called to it. I remember like I left the tab open. I left the tab open and I was like, okay, let me see. Because there was like kind of a lot of resistance at first, just because I was like, okay, well, why would I go to a filmmaking meetup? Like, that doesn't feel relevant at all to me in my life. And is that weird that I want to go? And what would I even tell them? Like, why would I go? What would be the point of going? And also, it was Thursday, 6 to 8. And I was like, that's going to interfere with the gym. And, I'd have to rearrange my schedule. But I kind of left it open because I was like, just didn't want to like fully let go of the idea. And then I noticed like over the week, I kept like not closing the tab. Then I actually started looking at, like, okay, well, how can I move around my gym schedule so that I could actually go? Or like, how could I make this work? And I started thinking, like, how can I make this work? And I was not really reading into it. I just was kind of like, I just feel called to go to this. And it also wasn't like this giant, like, oh my God, yes, that's it. Yes, I really like that sounds so exciting and I want to go for this reason. Like, it wasn't like a strong thing at all. It was such a subtle, like, hey, like, you should check that out kind of vibe? And it just like, it was very constant and grounded and stable and consistent and confident, like the way intuition speaks. And so I sent it to Sindri kind of as like a little test. Like, I was like, is he gonna think this is weird if I want to go to a filmmaking meetup? I was just kind of like, hey, like, I kind of want to go to this. Sounds cool. Would you go with me? And he's like down for anything. So he was down. And then, so I was like, okay, like if we go to the gym a little bit earlier, but then I think we can get there by, 6 to 8. I was like, if we think we can get there by like 7. And I put it on my calendar and I just did. I was like, this is what I set out to do this year is try new things, listen to the little nudges. And so like, it just felt like the perfect way to do it. Like felt like, okay, this is not a coincidence. And the day of course, I was like super nervous about going because like new event, all strangers. And I was literally planning to just go and just be like, hey, yeah, I don't know, like anything about this. I'm just really interested in learning and like tell me everything you can. Like, who are you? What do you do? Like, how can I get involved? I want to be on a set. And I just, yeah, I didn't even realize, like, I didn't even think till I got there and everyone would be like, oh, it's like, what do you do? Like filmmaker, screenwriter, actor. And I would be like, I don't know, all of the above, none of the above. Like, right now I do coaching, I kind of do music. And then I was like, I have experience in video editing, kind of, and video production. Like, I went to school for digital media, which I totally forgot, like, till I got there. I was like, oh, yeah, that's, like, kind of relevant, actually. But I think because also it was like, I was like, I don't know. I still don't know. Like, I'm very intrigued by it all, but I still don't know how I would even want to be involved. And I was like, but I was like, I think where I'm at now is so cool because it's fun to like, I don't know, to have the confidence and the self-discipline and kind of like the will that I have now to be like, oh, this is scary and like that that just means like it's probably going to be really awesome. Excuse me, something being scary or making me nervous doesn't mean, oh, should I not do it? Should I not go? Should I bail? There's never actually a serious consideration of backing out anymore. And it's almost like that's such a green flag for me now. Like I know, oh, something good's going to happen here. Like I should follow this. So I was definitely feeling like nervous and anxious, like at the gym before we were going. And I was like, oh my God, I have to like go like just socialize in a room of strangers. And, but thankfully, so having Sandra with me did help so much. Not having to go alone helped so much. But I just kept saying, I would just be like, oh, I'm nervous, you know, and just kind of like let it out. And then I would be like, okay, there's nothing to be scared of. I was like, strangers are safe, which, you know, not always, but I was like, you know, like nothing scary is going to happen. You don't care what anyone thinks of you. You have no impression to make. You're just going in to learn. Just be yourself. And I kept talking down myself. And we went, and Sindri actually came through in the clutch by like breaking us into the first, because we didn't even know when we got into like it was like at a burrito bar. We didn't know who was there for the film thing, who wasn't. So we went to the bar to get a drink. Well, Sindri was going to get a drink. And then while we were just standing there, I was kind of looking around trying to like gauge and see. And then Sindri just like compliments this guy's camera that he had around his neck. And like we started talking to him. And then it was so funny, actually. A lot of them just had cameras around their necks. So it was like, it's like a tell. I don't know if they did that on purpose or they just love to have their camera. And then we started talking, and we had a great time. We stayed there for like 2 hours. Everybody was so welcoming and just so happy to help, so happy. Like nobody cared. It was so nice because I haven't been to many networking events, but I feel like a lot of the experience I do have with networking or have seen with networking or been tangential to or heard people talk about with networking is, you know, everyone's very like give to get, me, like how can you help me kind of thing. And obviously, like what I have always talked about and what the people who are successful do is like you approach it of like, I'm not trying to get anything, right? Like, how can I help you? That's how you network. Is like, how can I provide value? How can I help you? Right? And just forming genuine connections. And it's just like what goes around comes around, you know? And everybody was just so nice. I didn't even think about until after, like, oh yeah, like, you know, it wasn't necessarily beneficial, quote unquote, for any of them to want to talk to me because I don't have any like quote unquote again like surface level value to give. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, like I can give this opportunity or I like am this thing if you need, you know. I mean, I guess I was like, hey, I'm willing to like volunteer for free and just help out, which I'm sure a lot of like beginner filmmakers do need and want that, like people like that. So I guess that was valuable, but it was just cool how they were just like I was just asking questions, and they were so happy to talk to me, so happy to answer questions. And like no one ever looked for an out from the conversation. And it was just like such a good vibe. It seems like such a great community. And I was like, it's like, how did I not even know? You know, this whole community was right here in my city around this thing that I've always been interested in. And just like, oh, look how easy it was to like fall into this. And again, like easy, quote unquote, but you know, like how easy it played out. Like I still had to push through my discomfort. And like I never would have, you know, even thought. And it was just such a series of little things. Even that day, again, I was kind of off like earlier in the day. And then I chose to just start dancing. Just danced my way through whatever I was feeling, went out on a walk. I wrote a couple poems, went and vibed in a coffee shop. I just had like such an artsy, flowy, creative day and really felt through a lot of stuff. And I was just like feeling so good. And then that was how the day ended. And I felt like it all serendipitously, synchronistically, I don't know which of the words applies better here, just like played out and led to me even being able to show up in the certain frequency and be open to what it was. And just, it was a great time. And I even met this awesome guy who was like totally happy to have me come help out on some of his projects. And so I'm actually going to be a PA on a set for a local film in April, which I'm super excited for. Just like, I just want to be there and be involved and just learn, meet more people, be a part of it, you know? And it's like, I don't even care right now, like how I'm involved. I'm just so like, it like I feel like what going to this, the reason I'm telling this story is like it just opened me up to seeing this whole other world of possibility and almost like remembering there's like a world outside of the coaching industry. And it was almost like, oh, like, you know, like online and offline, but also literally just like other industries and other ways of being creative. And I feel like just being there. And I think it was the experience of like actually seeing and having it right in front of me of how easily opportunities could open up in this industry, in this field, and like how easy it could be to break in. And like if I wanted to explore it, I could, and to be able to really see like, oh, like I could actually see a path into this now, you know? Whereas before, I think the reason why I like closed myself off from it was so much because I didn't see the path, right? I didn't know, and that blocked me from even acknowledging how much of a desire or interest was there, right? And I just felt so excited when we got home, and I was just like, I just feel so excited and so full of possibility. I don't know. It's not even like it was specifically about that, kind of was, but it was also, I think, just like this, it felt like this like fog had lifted. I don't know. The best way I can describe it is like I felt so full of possibility and like so excited about the future and like remembering how many ways there are to create and express and be that go beyond coaching and even to like be successful, just everything, you know? It was just like, oh, there's this whole other world outside of coaching that I like kind of forgot about. And it was like my goals and my intentions had all been like pulling me to that, but I hadn't fully made the connection of like, oh, that was what I was asking for. That's what that meant. You know what I mean? And then a really cool moment with kind of the opening of like my identity shifting that led into this kind of deeper realization around my relationship to my coaching business in general was I got home and I was like, oh, wait, these like all these people are gonna follow me on Instagram and they're gonna see my page and be like, what? Like, what is that? Who? Like, what? Like, it made me, and it's not like, you know, that I was like caring what they thought by seeing my page. It was more of like, oh, I'm realizing I don't feel accurately represented on my page, and I don't want this to be like what people see. You know, I don't want people to go and be like, oh, who is this? Oh, she does this coaching thing. I felt like, oh wait, I want you to see like why it was relevant for me to be there, because that's who I am. You know, I want to have it represented on my page and my online presence that I am an artist, I am a singer, I'm a creative, I'm a dancer, I'm a performer, I'm a writer, you know, like I do all these things. And I don't want my page. I had this realization where I was like, and it's funny because it was the page, it was also about me in general, right? Your bio is such a direct line to like, how am I identifying right now? I was like, I don't want to just be a coach. I want to show that I'm all of me, and I don't want my page to just be for potential coaching clients. I want it to be for anyone I could connect with, and I want to represent myself in a way that like it's relevant to anyone I connect with anything I'm interested in and anything I want to do. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't want my online presence, you know, and I had kind of layers of this peeling before too with, you know, where back when I started the podcast again with my whole brand, and I was like, oh wait, like I can like be an influencer and post vlogs and post coaching content, you know? That was kind of like the first step towards this, you know? But I was just like, oh, like that's it. Like I don't want the purpose of like my online presence and my digital presence, my brand presence to be to try to get coaching clients. I want it to be like to show people who I am, you know? And it's funny because normally I feel like when you go through these identity evolutions, you change your bio a zillion times and it never feels right and you finally land on something. This was like a quick, I like just, oh, this is what I want to change it to. I knew right away, changed it, bam. It felt so good. And I was like, that's it. And all I did was, it was so interesting. The first line of my bio was self-expression and confidence queen. And so even that line you can see was still like, oh, I'm leading with what am I an expert in, right? I'm leading with like, this is what I'm best at. This is what I'm good at. This is why you should work with me, right? And what I changed it to was just a line across of all the labels. It's like singer, I think it was like singer, dancer, speaker, writer, coach, creator, artist, I think, something like that. And that felt so good because I was like, I'm literally giving myself permission to be like, I am all of these things at once. Coach is one aspect of my identity. It's something I do. It's one part of who I am, but it's not my whole identity. And it's not like a box that I have to fit everything else about my life and about who I am and about my expression and my creativity and my interests and what excites me into, you know? Like, I don't want to identify as just a coach. And that was kind of the first realization. It's like, I don't want to identify as just a coach, and I don't even want to lead with coaching or my coaching business, you know? Like, I don't even want that to be my primary thing. And I went into a little bit of a spiral of confusion because I really was questioning because the thing was, I knew I still wanted coaching clients. So it wasn't like a clean black and white thing of I'm done with coaching. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I still love coaching and I still want to coach. I still like coaching. I still have a client on my roster right now who I love coaching and I'm so excited to continue coaching. I would be happy to have more clients come to me and want to be coached by me, right? Like, I want to still coach. I still love coaching. And so it was very confusing for me to be like, wait, I love coaching. I still love coaching. I would be happy to have clients come to me that want to be coached and like sign new clients. And I don't want to prioritize growing my coaching business. I don't want to prioritize selling or trying to get clients because I'm like, I've seen this film before. And a lot of the time when I see that come up with clients or when it's come up with myself, it's like, oh, okay, you would be happy if clients came to you, but you just don't want to sell. It actually just shows a fear of selling, right? And it's a classic, like, well, if you knew that if you posted about your offer, your service, that a client would come through it, then how would you feel differently about wanting to sell more? You know what I mean? And I really was like kind of talking myself in a circle and being like, is this just fear? Is this just blah, blah, blah? You know, like, can I talk myself out of it? And I landed on, okay, you know what? I think if I knew that if I posted about my offer right now that a client would come to me, then I would post about it. And so I'm going to, and like maybe this is just fair. And so I had already been posting about my day that day, and my day was like poppin'. And I was like, oh, this is already such good, just like natural marketing because my day is slaying today. And like I've been in such a good mood and in such a good flow. And I was like, let me just like throw a CTA of like something of like, hey, like, you know, if you vibe with this, you know, this is possible for you too, whatever, like reach out. Just like a simple CTA thing. But I went to do it and it was almost like without even unconsciously, my like old like habits almost took over or my like conditioning. And without even like realizing, I couldn't help myself, I wrote like a whole story sequence out to lead into the offer. It was like I went to do the CTA and then almost I got there and this part took over. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do a CTA, I might as well like make it good and make it really intentional and like bring them through the breakthrough and like almost like all the old programming, you know? And it was still like a really great sequence that I wrote. It was very genuine, natural, authentic, you know, like, but I felt as soon as I finished posting it, I was like, I felt literally the contraction in my body. And I was like, okay, that did not feel right. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but that did not feel right. And so I tried to like break it down. I was like, was I like trying too hard? Like, what did da da da? Like, that felt so wrong. And what I realized was it was just that I didn't want to be presenting myself as a coach. Like, first and foremost, as a coach. And I felt like by doing a whole sequence like that, to try to sell an offer, it was still holding on to that part of me that was like, this is my top goal. And like, this is how I present myself. And it all has to come back to me selling my coaching offer because I'm a business coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a coach, whatever it is. And that was what fell off. So it was almost like in itself, like me posting about my services or a CTA wouldn't be bad, but I realized like when I went and did that, it was still me trying to like present as a coach because it was like, oh, well, I need to do this and go all in if I want to get clients. And it was like, that's just wasn't what I wanted to do. It was just this realization. It was almost like I was like, wait, I don't want people to like see me as a coach, you know, which is like weird because it's like, yes, I want clients and obviously I want them to see me as a coach. But it was like by doing that, I was like, wait, I'm presenting myself as a coach and I don't want to be seen as a coach. Like, I don't want to be known for being a coach, you know, like I don't have dreams anymore. I did at one time of rising to the top of the coaching industry. You know, like that feels so small and so boxy to me now. Like I just feel like my dreams have expanded beyond the coaching industry. You know, like it feels bigger. It's like again, like oh, there's this whole real world out here outside of this coaching industry bubble, and that's not to put down the coaching industry bubble at all. It's just where I'm at now. It's like I feel like I've just outgrown it a little bit and my goals are just different, you know? Like I used to dream of building a 6-figure business and being like a star of the coaching industry, you know, being like a top coach and being really successful in that way. And now it's like that's not what feels expansive to me. That's not what lights me up. And so it's like, wait, I don't want to present myself as a coach, because I don't want people to just see me and be like, oh, yep, she's a coach. I don't want to introduce myself and be like, yep, I'm a coach. I want to be like, this is going to sound so corny. I want to be like, hi, I'm John Murray, right? And I do this and this and this and this and this, right? And coaching is one of those things, right? Like, and also I provide support for people who like want to do stuff like this, you know, but it's like, it's an extension of me instead of the other way around where I'm leading with coaching and I'm a coach and then everything else is an extension off of that or something I'm trying to fit into that, you know? And again, it's like I still love coaching, like as an action, as an activity, as a, you know, behavior. I just don't want it to be my whole identity anymore. And I didn't realize how much I was making it my whole identity, you know, and in a way, like making like my business my whole identity until all of this. And it's just like, yeah, I don't even want building my business or building a coaching business to be like my primary focus right now. It's just not what's calling to me anymore. And like, there was a time when entrepreneurship and coaching, like those words felt so expansive to me. And now they don't feel expansive. They feel safe. They feel boring. They feel boxy. They feel small, right? Like they feel like they're holding me back. Like they feel even a little, you know, just as labels, you know? And the words and labels and identities that are feeling really expansive, that have been, that I've been trying to like make sense of, you know, are like full-time creative, quote unquote, right? I'm doing air quotes. Full-time creative, artist, you know? And I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know. I don't even really know, you know? But it feels expansive and it feels beyond coaching. And again, I used to be like, well, I could just be creative with my content more, you know? And it's like, no, I just don't, literally, I'm not desiring to like speak to, you know, to make content about growing a business. And that could totally also be like me having an evolution in the kind of stuff I want to coach on. And again, I don't plan on ending coaching. Like I'm going to keep coaching, right? But I think it's just this thing of like, I don't want to identify as a coach right now as my primary thing. I still am a coach, right? But like, that's not what I want to lead with. I want coaching to be something I do versus something I am. Even on entrepreneur, I want to just be like, this is something I do, is like, I'm entrepreneurial versus growing a business is my main thing. I know it's all semantics, and that's why I say, like, I feel like it's really more of a shift in how I feel in my relationship to all of this than like what I'm actually like doing and how it's going to change, and like just really how I'm identifying is the biggest shift. But yeah, it's like, I think I felt so confused about it because it's like, well, I still do want success, right? I still want to make money. I still want to work with clients. I just don't want to like, it's not where I'm feeling called to pour my time and energy. I'm just feeling called to pour my time and energy into these other goals, and not even goals so much. Like, again, there's not really a huge vision, like a huge clear vision, but like into exploring these other areas. And I really trust that like by doing that, you know, always by just following what excites you and what lights you up, that like everything will unfold the way it's meant to, that will lead to success, that will lead to money. Like I could even very well see like me exploring these, kind of like putting coaching on the back burner, and just like new coaching clients just show up out of nowhere because I stopped trying to get them, and because I just did what felt like, you know, I followed what was exciting me instead of trying to keep myself in this one lane, you know? It feels a little bit like like it feels a little bit like quitting my job to follow my dreams part 2. It reminds me of when I quit my corporate job, and it was like, you know, I kept trying to make it work and be like, oh, well, like, why can't I just, you know, like do this or change my mindset with this thing and da da da. And like, there's so many good things about it. And then I love certain parts of it, right? Is a thing, is like when you're leaving something that isn't all bad, it's like, but I still love parts of it, right? And it's like, you just get to a point where it's like, okay, if it was like meant to be, I wouldn't still be questioning it this much, you know? And again, I feel so dumb even kind of like saying that, or like just, it feels weird to say it because it's not like I'm saying this big goodbye to coaching. Like I'm really just, it's a shift in the way I'm identifying and kind of what I'm prioritizing right now. I'm still like open to coaching. I still have my one-on-one app up on my page. I'm still going to probably talk about it. You know, I'll still probably like talk, you know, CTA it sometimes, or talk about it on the podcast or wherever, you know, and it's like I'm not at all closing it off. It's a really just a shift in like how I'm identifying and what I'm prioritizing right now. And I think it's like, again, when I left my old job, this is how I always say how you know, like when it's time to leave something, right? Or like leave a job especially, let something go is like when the fear is no longer the thing telling you to leave, the fear is now the thing telling you to stay, right? So, like with my old job, or I guess a better example would be with even like when I was serving. And for a while, I was like, should I quit this and just go full time in my business? And I could tell it wasn't like actually what was aligned because it was actually the fear telling me to quit because I was like, I don't have enough time to work in my business and I won't be successful if I don't get more time. So I need to quit this job so I can go full time in my business, right? And the way I knew that it was actually time to leave was because it had actually shifted to where the fear was telling me to stay. And I was like, I actually kind of feel like it's time to leave and like I'm meant to go full time, but I actually kind of don't want to leave because I'm scared of not having the income from this job. I'm going to miss the people. And the fear started telling me to stay, instead of the other way around. And that's how I knew it was actually time to go. And it was the same thing with this because this is where I kept questioning, like, but is it just the pressure? Is it just this? I was like, is it just fear? Am I afraid of failing? And like, that's why I'm thinking I don't want to do coaching. But there have been times in the past, right, where it's been like, oh, maybe I just shouldn't coach or I shouldn't sell, right? And then it was actually the fear saying, oh, you shouldn't coach, you shouldn't sell, right? Like you should go do something else because I was afraid of failing or it not work, you're getting rejected, right? But now it's actually the fear telling me I should keep prioritizing this. Oh, you should stay and keep doing the coaching how you've been doing it and keep trying to grow the business. You shouldn't go explore these other things, right? The fear has now switched which one it wants me to do, right? And so I can tell, oh, that means that's what's trying to keep me small and this is the direction I meant to go in. Yeah, and I think that's been the toughest part for me to like come to terms with is like I think I just hold myself to such a high like standard sometimes of like, oh well, I should be able to like fix how I view everything and fix my relationship with everything because it's all about me at the end of the day, right? And I kind of sometimes discount like the external too much and it's like there is real truth to just what's aligned externally and like, the power of environment and frequency of different things and everything like that, right? Like there's relationship with everything. It's not always all you. And sometimes there are just things that aren't aligned anymore, but sometimes it can be really difficult to discern misalignment from just fear. And especially because I've experienced it in the fear context before so many times and helped clients through it so many times, I just kept asking myself, well, can't you just disassociate coaching from that feeling of like pressure and performance, and just, I kept being like, okay, well, what you're saying you want to change is basically just you want to still coach, right? And offer coaching, but you don't want to lead with it and you don't want to identify as a coach. So why don't you just, do that? Why does that mean that you have to be expanding beyond the coaching industry or like not identifying as a coach or not, prioritizing a launch or something? And that was kind of what it was I was like, it's not that I don't want to sell myself. It's not that I don't even want to talk about my coaching, but it's like the things that were specifically within like doing my, within the coaching industry and growing my business in that way, like I had no desire to do launches anymore, to launch anything, to do like a workshop or a program of any kind, and maybe I will, I definitely still see myself having some kind of like community or like calls, things like that. And again, still having one-on-one clients. I know it's going to still be in my life and my work in some capacity. I just don't know what's going to look like. But I was just like, I just know I don't feel excited about doing any of the things that like I've been doing to grow my coaching business, that are kind of like the things I would need to do to grow it in this way. And so in a way, I guess you could just say like, I'm just changing my approach. It's not like I'm really abandoning my business at all. It's not like I'm abandoning coaching. I'm just really changing my approach to growing my business and I'm really expanding my business and quote unquote like to be much more holistic and much more just me and all of my endeavors in one, and also just exploring all these other things. And but it's not all with the goal of leading back to coaching clients, like making more money through my business. It's like a much broader goal. And I'm very open to like any path that could open up or any way that this could unfold. It's not all, again, tunneled into because I want to make more money in my business and get more coaching clients and be booked out and have higher sales months. You know, like it's so much more than that. And that's why I said I called it graduating from the coaching industry, because it's not like I'm leaving anything. I'm just, again, kind of building off it, expanding beyond it, changing my approach, graduating from like just operating within that bubble and within that context, you know? And it was, I decided I just needed to give myself, ultimately I just decided I needed to give myself permission to just honor that what I was feeling, and be like, even if it is because, you know, I am feeling pressure, or I feel like there's this performative way I have to show up to be a coach or whatever it is, and even if I could work through that, I'm just gonna give myself permission to not, and just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like let myself be messy with this, and like just follow what feels true to me right now, and follow what feels expansive, and like trust, you know, because it's like you kind of have to go through this process with decisions like these, I feel like, where you're just like gaslighting yourself constantly. Like to like, you know, like to really lean in and be like, this is actually what my intuition is saying, and I'm giving myself permission to trust it, and I don't need a reason. You know, I think a lot of the time it's always like, I need to be able to justify like why I want to do this, and it's like usually you don't, especially for things like this. It's like usually it's just I can just feel this isn't aligned, and this is what I feel pulled to and called to explore, you know, and it maybe doesn't make sense, and I don't have a logical justification for it, you know, and that's why they're the hardest decisions to make. But you have to be okay with just being okay with not having a perfect answer, not having certainty, and being like, yeah, and maybe, you know, I'll kind of give myself permission to kind of like shift this and show up differently and have different priorities. And then maybe I realize in a couple weeks, oh, like it actually was just that I needed to be able to look at coaching with fresh eyes. And like, of course I want to still grow my business, right? Or maybe I won't, but it's like kind of giving yourself permission to just be like, all right, and I'm going to find out when I need to find out, you know? Like it reminds me too of when I left, you know, my first breakup from like almost 7-year relationship. And it was like, I just had a friend go through a big breakup with a 7-year relationship too. And she was asking me like before she kind of like, when she was still kind of in the, you know, decision phase and was feeling really uncertain. And she was like, how did you know? Like, I don't feel certain. How did you know? How did you feel certain? Like, how do you know it was the right thing to do? And I thought to myself, and I was like, honestly, I don't think I did. I don't think I actually had the certainty. I think I just was questioning it for long enough that I was like, okay, like I owe this questioning an exploration, you know? And I could just feel my heart wasn't in it. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't need to figure out why or have a reason. I just need to honor that I can feel my heart isn't fully in this. And the only way to come back, you know, to get my heart back in it, if it's meant to be back in it, is to take time and space, right? The only way to get clarity either way is to do that. Because by stepping away, you can see, oh, do I miss it? Oh, did I really just need a fresh perspective? Do I want to come back? Or you can see, oh, actually, yes, I was meant to go down this path and that was the right thing, right? Which is like normally or like most often what happens, right? Or you just need growth in a different way before you can come back. You know what I mean? It's like all you need to know is like, well, all I know is right now at this time, this doesn't feel aligned. And this does, right? Like this feels exciting. And again, it takes so much into discernment and self-trust, and it's not easy to like find clarity when you're in the middle of all of that, but that's what it felt like. And it felt very similar to, you know, and compare now that I've had so many situations like this, it actually does make it a lot easier, because not only do I have kind of proof, you know, more proof of like, oh, actually like following, you know, when I left my job to start the coaching business, right? And like listen to my intuition and follow my dreams, it's like that worked out really well actually. You know what I mean? And so this kind of feels like that, where it's like I said, like quitting my job to follow my dreams part 2 is like almost like it feels like now, which is so funny, like coaching feels like my job in a way that I'm like, oh, I have to hold on because that's like the safe, proven way of making money. And like now I'm going into this like unproven, like adventurous, like scary path, which is so cool because it's like the first time around, right? Like coaching, growing my own business was this scary, unproven path. And now I'm like, well, that's like the safe, proven way that I can make money, right? Which is so cool, like how it's actually replaced it. But it also just shows me like, well, that can be exactly what this next path becomes. You know what I mean? And I think, yeah, having gone through so many of these types of decisions now, it makes it a lot easier to compare and call back to like, oh, this feels like when I left my job. This feels like that breakup. This feels like when I left the studio. Like at that time, I compared to those. And now I have all these built up to be like, oh, this is exactly what that feels like. And that's how that helps me know this is the right move right now. You know what I mean? In the right direction. Because same thing when I, decided to step away from teaching pole classes at the studio, it was like I could just feel I had outgrown the studio and my heart wasn't fully in it. And it was so hard for me to come to terms with because I was like, but I still love teaching classes. I still love pole. I still love this and this and this. There's all these reasons to not give it up, or to not step away, to not take a break, right? And did the same thing. I stepped away. I just took a break. It wasn't like a hard goodbye at all. And I haven't gone back to teaching classes, yet. And that was about a year, almost a year ago now, I think. But it's like, and then it's just your ego holding on, It's like, who's holding on and why? Like, who's holding on to this? And when I stepped away from the studio was when I actually had big success and a lot more money flow in through coaching. So, like, who knows what will happen with this shift? And the thing is, too, it's again, like, it's not as black and white. It's not like I'm leaving everything behind. Like, even when I stepped away from the studio, I didn't like, I still dance. I took that with me. Like, leadership, I took that with me. So it's like, I'm still going to coach, right? I'm not leaving that behind. I'm just leaving behind kind of like the identity of entrepreneur and like the goal of priority of growing a business specifically. Like, I still want to make money for myself. You know what I mean? I still want to do my own thing, be my own boss, all those things. It's just like a different context. And like, the path is not as clear as that path. You know what I mean? It's just a different context. I'm just like shift. It's just like a little shift, like a bunch of little shifts that are like enough to make a big difference, but also it's not a huge difference, if that makes sense. That's why it's like, it feels like it's not really a big announcement. It's more of just like, internally it feels like a big thing of like letting go of this identity and like pursue and like goal that I've had for like the past 2.5 years, but yeah, it's just a shift in like what I'm prioritizing and how I'm defining myself really, and like what I'm giving myself permission to prioritize, I guess. And again, it's not like I still desire for coaching clients to come in, and maybe, yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe this just opens me up to other avenues where I just find clients in other ways, or I don't know, It's very, again, very messy middle. Like, there are still pieces that aren't fully figured out. Really, I feel like the biggest shift is just who I'm giving myself permission to identify as. Like, kind of like I'm giving myself full permission to lift the like lens off of, like when I create or when I post my online presence, of really taking that away from like this is for my clients, you know? And again, that could just be a mental thing, right? That's just always like, oh, well, this has got to lead back to a sale, right? That I just need to tell myself this so I can detach from that. Or it could just be, because I just want to show up as me and like be me and be a human. It's like, I think I'm finally ready to let myself be this. And so that's why I'm like, was able to see it this way. But it's like, I don't want to be a guru anymore. Like, I don't want to be a guru. I just want to be a bestie. I just want to be a bestie. Like, I just want to vibe, And I think, again, I think it was like, even, I think looking back when I got into coaching and when I discovered this and that I could do this, I think, again, it kind of was a way that I felt like I could start to follow a lot of the desires that I had while still staying within the protective structure and identity and like mask that I had of like, I have to be the smartest, I have to be the expert, like I provide value by knowing things, And so it was almost like, oh yes, I can have the freedom of being an entrepreneur and I can create and I can do this and this, but I still have this protection of being a coach, right? And like, that's how I show up. And so it's almost like, just because I finally freed myself of needing that protection of being like, oh, I'm actually okay with not being the smartest one in the room. I'm actually genuinely okay with not having the answer and not being the expert. It's almost like coaching just fell away because it's like, oh, like, I feel like it's like, I have a heavy coat on and I'm just like, oh yes, like take it off me. Like, it was so heavy. Like, I'm free, like, And so it's like I'm still want to do everything, but I don't need to be presenting myself that way anymore. There's a part of me that feels like, like universe was kind of like, okay, well, you're meant to be like a famous artist and musician and, do all these like creative, expressive things, but you are super disconnected from your body and your intuition, and you have like a horrible fear of being seen and like no capacity for visibility or vulnerability at all. So we're gonna like send you down this path because like you starting a coaching business and being an entrepreneur specifically within the realm of like personal growth and spiritual development will be the quickest way for you to like have all these realizations and like have all this growth in this area so that you can arrive at a place and become a version of yourself who is ready to be seen in the way that you're going to need to be, let yourself be seen, and ready to be vulnerable in this way, and like has the relationship with your emotions that you need to have to create this beautiful art. Like, and so it was like, this is the quickest way. So here you go. Like, we're just going to like funnel you through the like 2-year coaching accelerator, or like entrepreneurial accelerator. And like now I feel like I've gotten exactly all of the lessons that I needed to get to be ready for this next chapter through all of that experience. And again, not I don't want to discount it at all because like I was so passionate about it. And I loved it, and it was definitely like the path I was meant to be on. And again, it's not even like my path, I'm letting go of it. I'm just, again, expanding beyond it. I'm just not making that my whole world anymore. I know I said it a million times, but like I said, I'm still kind of like coming to terms with it. And I also I want to emphasize that like I don't want anyone I don't want anyone to take that I'm sharing this right now and like my personal experience and how I feel right now as like a statement about the coaching industry at all, or anything bad about coaching or the coaching industry. And like I know there are still so many people, and I still have clients who like their dream is still to grow their coaching business, and that's amazing, and I love that for you. Like I seriously, like I feel like I know sometimes like when you hear someone like making this big decision, it can but I'm talking too fast, making this big decision about something that you're really into, it can kind of make you question and be like, wait, am I wrong for still loving this? Right? The same way how like, when I see other people still loving something that I don't feel called to anymore, I'm like, wait, am I wrong for feeling like I don't love this anymore kind of thing, But it's like really like trust yourself. And like I so support anyone who still has these dreams of growing within the coaching industry. And like maybe something I shared resonates in the way that you want to approach it. Maybe it doesn't, I think sometimes hearing people share this kind of stuff too can really, I remember when I made my first podcast episode, a girl from my old job reached out and she was like, love your story. Thank you for sharing. It actually helped me realize that I really do love working at this company and doing like what I do here, like at the company I used to work at, and like this is actually what I'm passionate about. And I was like, I love that for you. Like, I'm so happy that the contrast helped you see that. And it kind of helped validate me too, to know that she actually felt really passionate there. And that's not how I felt there. Right. And like both are valid. So like, I still think also too, like, again, this is really just about, it's not what's exciting me right now. That's the only real like piece, is like it's not where it's exciting me to pour my energy and my time, is not like into growing a coaching business, because I do truly still believe it's actually still very easy to be successful as a coach and to grow a coaching business. I really do. I believe it's easy to be successful doing anything that's aligned, that you actually feel excited about, that's aligned with your path. Like if you're following what excites you, what lights you up, you're listening to your intuition, right? And you're being yourself, like you will align and you will have success, right? That's how it just works, period, in any industry, in anywhere, right? So if growing your coaching business is still what's lighting up and exciting you, like absolutely go for it. I support you in it. I still want to help support people in doing that and growing their coaching business, right? Like it's not, again, not any like statement or anything of like, boo, like fuck the coaching industry, like bye, I'm done with coaching, I'm going to like the real world stuff, and like coaching industry is stupid, like not at all. Like it's not that. It's really just the relationship I was having with it and the relationship that I now want to have with it. But I still love it and love for other people to thrive within it, And I still believe it's really easy to be successful, and even in 2026, because I believe it's easy to be successful no matter what you're doing if you're aligning. But I do invite, the one thing I will invite you to, like if it resonates, is just the principle of being yourself first, because I think that also is what made it hard for me to like realize that this wasn't like what was exciting me anymore, because there was a lot of other stuff wrapped up in it, you know? So ultimately I was like, okay, this is just what I feel. It's not exciting me. My heart's not in it. And that's enough. That's enough of a justification to like shift my priorities for a bit and see where that takes me. But also there was the whole other unraveling of like the identity and the relationship I had with it, you know? And so I do invite you to that perspective of letting yourself expand your identity beyond just being a coach or beyond the coaching industry, even if like your primary goal still is right now growing your coaching business or growing a business, like if you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, like let yourself expand your identity beyond that. Like you don't have to be all that, right? Like be you first and let everything else be an extension of you and who you are and your expression and your embodiment instead of needing to box yourself into like one thing and trying to see how everything else can fit within that. And specifically, like this can happen with coaching and with your business, but like in general, another realization I had for myself was how it was like after I even gave myself permission to kind of like release this and kind of embrace this like pivot, if you will, I found myself immediately almost like going into, okay, well now like how am I going to be the most successful like in acting or in filmmaking, or like what is my path in music going to be, or like what is this going to look like? And I started like going down rabbit holes, and what I realized was kind of like, oh wait a minute, like I'm now just immediately trying to pinhole, is that the word I'm looking for? I feel like there's a word I keep looking for that's like tunnel, pinhole, something that means like confining into, you know, contort into fitting into a smaller thing, and I can't think of the word that I want. Like I'm still trying to look at, okay, how is this going to fit into the context of me being successful and making money, right? So I realized that before I was just doing that with coaching because coaching was the context I had of this is how I'm trying to be successful and make money, right? And when I was like, okay, I'm going to like let coaching by the wayside a little bit, I immediately started being like, okay, well, like, how is acting and filmmaking going to be like how I'm successful and make money? Or how is music going to be? How is like art in general going to be like, and like, how is this going to be lead me to success and money? And I was like, wait a minute, like, I need to be okay with actually identifying completely outside of that context in general, right? So it was like a big part of the reason why it was hard for me to let go of the identity as coach, right? Was because I was still in a mode that's like so like conditioned from like society, right? Of like I define myself by what I do for money, for work, right? When people say like, "Oh, what do you do?" It's like you say your job, right? Or like tell us about yourself. Like your job's like the first thing you say, right? And so it's this also like unraveling of like learning how to like re-identify myself and define myself outside of the context of success and making money and like work, quote unquote, right? And like this is all still going to be like work in a way, you know, and it's going to be a path and it could be a career and it's all of that, but it's also me letting myself be like, and also like I'm like just literally aligning and following my path and letting it unfold. And like I trust when I do that, I will be supported, and like success and money and everything, opportunity, people, like everything will flow to me that's meant to flow to me, right? Like just really like zooming out and like following, you know, like living my values to the fullest. You know, my brain kept being like, well, if I'm not a coach, then who am I? What am I? What do I do? And I think that's why I immediately started to like make these other things my purpose or my path and be, you know, oh, well, if coaching wasn't the thing, well, this must be my thing. And I must go all in on this thing then, you know? And it's like, what if, you know, I don't have to be defined by my career, or I don't have to like find one purpose, and I can really zoom out and just let myself like embrace the full experience of life. I know it sounds corny, and not be defined by like how I make money or by my career or, you know, like literally I'm just me, you know, and like I love all these things and I do all these things, and it does help to have kind of a replacement definition, you know, where it's like, well, if I'm not a coach, who am I? And so what I've kind of been calling myself recently of like what I'm stepping into is like full-time creative and artist. Those are like the two, or full-time creative and artist. And again, I don't even know what that means, but it just, to me, it means like I create, and that's my priority, is my creative expression and like making art in some way, whether that's writing, music, you know, like pursuing, looking into, you know, other forms of self-expression, dance, acting, filmmaking, whatever. Like I'm a creative full time. and I create and I do things that support my creative process. And like that's truly how I want to live my life. And also Florence Given, I said I've been listening to her recently, and she said in one of her episodes, she was like, someone says, what do you do to her? And she said, I am a woman who gets paid handsomely for her thoughts and opinions and impacts culture, I think was the ending. But it was essentially like, I'm a woman who gets paid handsomely for her thoughts and opinions. And that's kind of like the vibe is like, I'm a woman who shows up in the world as fully me as possible, like who creates and expresses, who makes art and shares her thoughts and opinions and, activates people. And like, that's what I do, and that is not confined to any one method or channel. And it's really just by me showing up in the world as fully me as possible and listening to my intuition and leaning in, like I will align to the timeline I'm meant to be on, and everything will flow how it's meant to, and I will align to everything I need and everything I desire. And like really, that's my core philosophy at the end of the day. It always has been. So I'm really just like leaning in and living my philosophy of like, all you need to do to be successful is be you. And right now this is what me being me looks like, and following the fun and following your excitement, following your joy, because that's like how it's meant to go. And it's like almost, I don't know. I think I definitely still have a lot of like, I'm going to have a lot of new fears to work through around this. Like defining myself this way and going deeper into like being an artist and being a creative, because it's like, again, like a lot of my story, like coming from absolutely completely closed off to like emotional expression in any way to like being a creative and an artist, being a musician, a performer, an actor, a writer, a storyteller, anything in that realm, like a poet, like that is like full, it's like as dramatic as you can get, that's like as emotionally expressed as you can get. And I know it's going to require even more vulnerability from me, even more visibility, but I can feel that's what I'm called to. That is what feels expansive to me. And it's like, oh my God, I can't think of a better way to like spend my time and live my life than trying to feel as deeply as possible and like express as deeply as possible and as fully as possible, and to like help other people feel through doing that. It's like that's always been my mission. And I really just feel like my eyes have been open to all these other ways I can do that outside of just coaching, And it's like, yeah, I just want to lead with that. And it's like, I want to move through the world as that person and be an artist and prioritize that stuff and like accomplish things in other areas and create other kinds of art, and create things. And then, as it relates to coaching, I want to help people always. But then it's like almost like having that be an extension of like, oh yeah, and I like do all of this and I live this way. And like, if you want support from me in living this way or creating like this, like I can help you with that, like it's really just expanding. It's not like, it's like that is what I was doing before. It's like, hey, I built this business and I live this way and like I can help you with that. But again, it's just like, I think it's an evolution of like the kind of client I want to work with, the kind of work I want to do. And I don't know what it's going to look like. And again, I'm just letting myself be in a messy middle, letting it kind of just like work itself out. I'm really in the vibe. I'm in my era of letting everything work itself out. I don't know. Like, I don't see an exact path to how this is going to lead to income, to how this is going to lead to XYZ, I'm really focused on like what's ahead of me, what's exciting me, what do I feel called to, and trusting, stretching myself, leading into discomfort, and just following my excitement. And I really trust that the path that's going to unfold is going to be so much better than I could ever imagine. So it's almost like, who am I to try to predict where this is going to go? Who am I to try to predict where this is going to lead to, or to try to play the path out or see how this could lead to XYZ? Like, I just know it's going to work out, And so kind of what I'm telling myself still is like a little like not fully ripping the Band-Aid off is like, okay, for a month, and I had to talk to Sindri too, because there was definitely more layers of like guilt of I'm like, wait, like I'm gonna literally just be like, fairy, like pursuing my dreams and like being a creative artist and like not like actively trying to make money. Again, it's not that I want to be very clear, because I want you to want to make money and to own your desire to make money and to receive money, even more to receive money. And it's not that I don't want to receive money or that I'm like disowning that goal at all. It's just I'm letting go of really like tunneling money into, you have to come through this one path of coaching clients And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna let you come however you want. Hey, I'm open. I'm gonna like follow all these things, that are lighting me up and like just let myself receive and watch myself be supported. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be surprised at all if I'm like, okay, like full-time creative, gonna just like go, like create all week and not think about anything else, not think about launching anything, not think about blah blah blah, right? And just like be an artist and do whatever. And then like again, I get clients come in and it's like, oh, and there we go, and there's some income. You know what I mean? But again, it's like I don't even want to like keep that in the back of my mind because I don't want my brain attaching to like, oh, well, I know that by doing this, then I'll get clients and money, right? It's like I'm open to truly anything because that's how I know too is like if I don't get clients though, I'm fine, you know? It's not like it's like I'm good either way, you know? And I don't want it to like even discount how much I love like the current client I have and like how excited I would be to have a new client, but it's just like I don't feel like that attachment to it anymore. I don't feel like attachment to anything right now, at least, And again, like still having to work through a lot of the money stuff. But like what I keep coming back to is just because of that and because I'm like, oh, like I have this like foundation of safety and I have this trust and I'm like ready for this chapter. Like I'm ready to let myself like live my life full time how I actually have always wanting to be living it. And I'm ready to actually let myself pursue the dreams I've always wanted to pursue and do and try the things I've always wanted to do and try, you know? So it feels like this just like like awakening in a way, like a next level awakening. Yeah, so like I still obviously want to make money and I'm excited to make money. And so yeah, kind of what I was saying is what I told myself is, okay, like take a month, you're a full-time creative, full-time artist, and like live that way and like just see where that takes you. And like revisit after a month and be like, okay, do I want to explore other ways of making money? Like, do I want to get a part-time job to support this? Because when I was growing my business, I would always come back to like, okay, well, if I want to bring in more income, I could get a part-time job, but no, I would rather get it through clients and like focus on my business, right? And it's like right now, I'm honestly like, would I rather get it by focusing on clients? Yes, ideally, I would love to just have a client drop in, and that would be an easy way to make money. But again, I'm not feeling like called to pour my time and attention into like pursuing that. So I'm focusing on like aligning to it, but not necessarily moving towards it as a goal. So I don't know. I'm going to revisit because genuinely there's a part of me that's like, you know what? I might be down to like get a part time job if that means I can just create full time and like pursue these other like artistic expressions and like interests, which I've never felt before? So I know it's like a very like grit, like it's not super clear what I'm saying, right? It's like, yes, I'm still coaching and also I'm kind of not and also I am and I want it and also I like don't, but I do, and it's like I'm just in kind of a weird in between. But I'm feeling very excited about the direction and I'm sure like more clarity will just keep coming and coming over the next couple weeks. And I'm really excited just for like this next month of just, yeah, like, okay, what does this look like for me? Without kind of a pressure of needing to force it into the coaching context. What am I open to explore? What am I open to create? And just like what opportunities come through. And there's still like the podcast I'm still focusing on and prioritizing. Like I still love it. And I still want to focus on podcast collabs. But it's like, I was even looking back and like, maybe the reason I've been putting off, the podcast pitching is because I was like looking into podcasts that I would have been like showing up to as a coach. And now like maybe I want to present myself differently and I want to talk about different things. And maybe there's different podcasts I actually want to guest on. So it's like also trusting like truly everything is always like just so divinely timed. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm just really taking an intuitive approach to life right now, I guess. And I still definitely have structure and like self-discipline that I'm applying in a lot of ways and goals, but also I think I'm just really, really rooted in the truth right now that alignment is everything. And I'm focusing on aligning and then just like letting myself experience what I align to and letting myself receive versus trying to force anything or trying to think, like I talked about last episode, that I know better, I know how it's supposed to happen. and I'm just taking it day by day, following the nudges. And I have these bigger goals and contexts, that I've talked about. Nothing's really changing with that. It's just, again, never about the action, always about the intention and energy behind the action. And that's kind of like where I'm at. So, I just like see my days as, waking up, writing, just like maybe like playing on my guitar all day, having many coffee shop days, and just like creating what I feel called to create, where like whether I'm writing poems, whether I start writing a book, whether I'm working on songs, whether I'm like watching YouTube videos, going down this acting rabbit hole. Okay, so I'll talk about acting real quick because I know I've mentioned it. It's so weird. It's crazy because like my sister is an actress. My brother is an actor. My dad is an actor. My mom is a screenwriter. My stepdad is a musician. My stepmom is a dancer. Literally, like, and my dad's a singer too. Pretty much everyone in my family and my sister and my brother sing too is like full-time creative, and so, or not full-time. Not all of them are full-time creative, but like are very creative and artsy in some way. And so it's like obviously, right? Like this is like a big part of me. Everyone except for my one brother. But I have never really like thought about acting or wanting to be an actor. And my family has been in theater, is very theater focused. And I don't really have an interest in being a theater actor. But film acting really intrigues me, and acting in like certain kinds of, and I don't know what it is that is intriguing me right now. And I'm a little bit like, what? Like this, I've never been the actor. Like they've always been the actors. I've never been interested in acting. And it still kind of terrifies me. Like I'm like, I don't know if I would be good at it. I've never tried it, but I'm curious to try. And I feel like it's just like, I know it'd be a stretch for me. And like my embodiment and my expression, it feels like almost like the epitome of, being able to receive and surrender to a moment, to a scene, to a character, to an emotion. Like it feels like bringing all the things I love about embodiment, expression, vulnerability, authenticity, surrender, presence. It feels like it's bringing all of that. And I'm like, damn, like you have to be really vulnerable actually to be an actor. And I feel like I can just feel that like exploring this would just be like an opening for me to like deepen my relationship with vulnerability and with like my emotional expression that feels very expansive. I also know nothing about it though. And so, and I definitely have like I haven't told my family yet. I don't know if I'm going to tell them or not, or just let them find out they're listening to this podcast episode. Cause I'm a little like, are they going to be like, you want to like try acting? Who are you from where? Like, like my sister went to school for it. Like they've been doing it for so long. And I'm a little bit like, not even them, but I think knowing like their experience, I know how hard actors work. So I'm not at all trying to be like, hey, I'm gonna like come in and like try acting, as just it's like this little like fun thing. And other people are like, I've dedicated like my whole life and career to this. But also I do kind of want to try and just like see like if I can do it, and I want to experience it and see what it feels like. So I'm just exploring that because I just feel like what a cool experience. I feel like even just exploring the filmmaking world again, like I was like, well, I feel like if I get into filmmaking, I'm gonna want to try acting because again, I feel like my heart is like on camera, is like on stage, and I wouldn't be satisfied staying behind it. So I'm like, well, I better learn kind of how to do this, and like I don't know, it just feels like such a cool stretch and like such a cool way to like help other people feel something, which is how always what I want to do with music, what I want to do with all of my art, and to help you, I don't know, feel something just cool. So yeah, I've been watching all these YouTube videos too about like the craft of acting, and it's just so interesting because he keeps saying like the key is like being able to surrender to the moment and being able to like just like receive and like not think about you and get out of your head and like actually respond to the other person. And like it feels so aligned to like a lot of the embodiment like principles that I love like practicing on my own. So yeah, I don't know. That's something that's really like I'm finding interesting. Obviously still doing the podcast, still connecting, collaborating with people, performing, expressing, going to open mics, writing songs, just like creating art and like seeing what I want to create. And like I feel like, the vision will drop in or whatever, like things will align. And right now I'm in this kind of like exploration phase. I'm still gonna have my icons only group. Again, that's just gonna be where I can stay connected to my community, my community, whatever, like, and we don't have to have any certain kind of relationship. It's not like a coach client thing, it's not like it's just I'm me, you're you, and like want to hang out and like hear other things that I have to say. Yeah, I'm still gonna be, creating. I'm gonna still be on social media and just I don't know, creating from the heart. I don't know what I'll be. I think also it's like, again, this like letting myself live more in the real world and in like the full world, right? In terms of offline and not just online, and also like all world, all creation, all art, all community, all industry, not just like within the coaching industry. So, like, I don't know what that's, I think also like, I don't know, definitely my relationship with social media is wanting to evolve, and I don't know what that fully looks like. Not even necessarily like in the way I show up, in the presence I have, and also maybe like how much I go on and like how much of a role it plays in my business. Like I've said before, I want it to be like a door to my world, and I want it to be like somewhere where like I'm already creating offline, and like expressing and embodying living. And then it's like, oh, this is how I can share that with people now. I feel like, and that's why I'm decided I'm going to take a break from social media for the next week, because I feel like right now I'm feeling called to like focus on my life offline. Like I feel like my life offline, there's a lot like that can be like improved right now, I guess, or just like, you know, could like that I want to give attention to, and it's like I want to focus on like making my life offline feel so good and juicy that it's like I can't help but overflow and like, oh, I need to share this with people, whether that's like what I'm creating just for myself offline and then I want to share it online, or, like even like my personal style and just like my habits, my routines, like the person I'm being, like I want to like really focus on like taking care of myself and like living the life offline that like we try to show online. You know what I mean? Because I've always said like the way you show up online is just an extension of how you are offline. And like the reason when it starts to feel empty to show up online is when you're trying to like show up online in the way you wish you were showing up offline, and you're just trying to like replace it, and then you just feel empty like outside of it. You know what I mean? You're trying to like chase it kind of. And so what my current goal and intention is like pour into myself and the life that I'm living in my daily embodiment and expression and creation, and then let social media be there for when it's like I'm overflowing, and now I want to express this here, and I want to share and connect with you and invite you into these other things that I'm experiencing offline, like a doorway into my world. Oh, I'm creating this thing, or I wrote this song, or whatever it is. Like that's how we can bridge and connect, and how I can share and express and overflow from how I'm already expressing, how I'm already creating, what I'm already creating, and who I'm already embodying, And that's where I want it to come from, Like, oh my God, like I'm just feeling myself so much today. I can't help but post this thing about it, I can't help but take this selfie. Or I love what I'm creating so much that I can't help but share a part of it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Versus feeling like an obligation to show up online or anything. Like feeling like I have to show up there first, almost like before I show up for myself in my offline life, Like I want to romanticize my offline life and almost like pretend as if that was what was being showed online. You know what I mean? Like make my offline life feel that good. And don't get me wrong, my offline life is amazing currently. Like the baseline is great. But, it's like I want to like cozy up my space. We still have Christmas decorations up, which is like making this room feel very chaotic. We were supposed to take them down last weekend, and then we just ran out of time. So we're doing it this weekend. But like, yeah, I want to like, just make, clean up the house and like pay more attention to the house and like my space and where I'm spending time, and like figure out how to style my hair and like get rid of old clothes. Like I feel like I'm in a big just phase of that where I'm like, okay, let me like become and let me be and let me embody and like, love up on myself and on like my habits, my routines, and just like, focus on becoming magnetic just where I am, and not trying to be magnetic online. It's such a subtle shift, but that's kind of like where I'm at right now. So I want to pour into myself and just let myself live and be this full-time creative and create and express and embody. And I know I've said the same words over and over. And like just focus on like making my life amazing offline, and then let online be this extension, this portal, this of communication, this doorway, and a place where I can like share my expression and my creativity with people and everything like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's where kind of where I am. That's kind of where I'm at. Oh, who wants to guess? Well, you don't have to guess, you can see, but I haven't looked at the timer this whole time. 1:35. Okay, so 2 hours. Yep. Well, I told you it was going to be a long one, and I owned it from the beginning. So I'm happy with that. I knew it was going to be, and I feel very content with this episode. I feel like I said everything I want to say. I feel like I articulated it as clearly as I could, given like the amount of confusion that is still kind of swirling around, you know, like definitely I'm still kind of having to like, you know, justify to myself or help myself understand and comprehend. I'm still like in the process, but this is where I've landed. This is where I am right now, and it feels really good. Feels good. So I'm excited to see what's to come in this next chapter. It's definitely going to be a big, expansive one. I can feel it, and I have no idea. And that's like really exciting. And I'm loving like entering this kind of season and this place from this energy instead of like just total fear. I'm like, oh my God, exciting. I have no idea where this is going, but like I'm just gonna like romanticize the fuck out of it and like have fun. So I love you guys. Please let me know what resonated from this episode, if anything did, or just let me know your thoughts. Give me some hype. Send me a message. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and or join the Icons Only group, or do both, or share about the episode, you know, do anything to support the podcast. Also, I never really talk about this, but if you listen to the podcast, especially like regularly, if you're a loyal listener and you love the podcast and you love me and you want to support me and you have not already left a review for it, okay, if you've rated on Spotify, rating on Spotify is super easy. You literally just have to click the stars. But what would really mean the world to me, if anybody would do this, because nobody has yet, is if you would leave a review on Apple, because you can actually write a review there and like write about how much you love it. It doesn't have to be big and long. It could be short and sweet and to the point, but like actual reviews in words, like would number one be like awesome for me to read, and also like help other people actually like be like, oh, instead of just 5 stars, you're actually reading why somebody loves the show. So if you do love the show and you listen regularly, it would mean the world to me if you have not already rated and reviewed the podcast on Spotify and Apple. Please do that. if you love the show, and I will love you forever. I already do, but I'll love you even more. Okay, I think that's everything I have to say. Love you guys so much. And yeah, I'm gonna take in a little break. I'm posting this. This is Wednesday. I'm posting this on Monday, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna do like Wednesday to Wednesday or Wednesday to like next Friday for kind of like a social media break. But I'm still gonna pop on, and not gonna be like super hardcore. I'm still gonna pop on and promote the podcast and stuff. But probably just that. I want to also give myself like a chance to get back into like out of the mindset of like I need to document everything, or like, you know, I want to let myself again like really just like love my life and like just be so present in it, and then like come back to like my relationship with all these other things from that place. So, all right. Love you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing rest of your day or night wherever you are. Oh my God, we should do a card pull, shouldn't we? It's over there. Okay. You know, the card pulls, they're inconsistent. I kind of want to do one. Okay, I'm going to get it. One sec. Is it just me, or is it hilarious that, like, every time I don't remember about the card pull until literally I'm halfway through the outro? That's the only time I remember about it. Okay, hang on. And now my nails are all sparkly and pink and gold. Yay! And they actually dried pretty quick. Oh. What message for this collective? What do you want to remind us of? Whoa! Success in transformation. Wow. Could this have been like any more on point for everything I just talked about? Success in transformation basically is like a reminder that the success is in the transformation, like it's in the journey. Oh my God, I was just listening to a podcast on this today too. Literally, like it's all in the journey, right? So what I was just saying is like, I'm just letting it unfold, and I'm taking it day by day, and I'm following what's exciting to me right now. And like, I'm letting that be like my goal, you know, like that's my focus. Is like the success is not, it's the most classic thing, right? The success is not the end point. It's not the goal. It's not the outcome. It's in the transformation. It's in the becoming. It's in the journey. That's your life. Those days that you're living, the journey you're on, that's the only reason I talked about this last time or the time before. That's the only reason why the milestones or the results mean anything, is because of the journey that led to them. So your success is in your transformation. It's in your becoming. Like it's in Like you making these decisions along the way. You leaning into discomfort along the way, right? Like you transforming and growing and expanding through your journey of life. It's in all the little moments. It's in all the decisions, all the choices, all the hardships, all the challenges. Like your success is literally in the transformation. Like that, like you are already successful. Like I said last time, like you start the day as a success, right? And it's just kind of like letting yourself reframe from like I'm trying to get to this goal or this endpoint and like I'm already here and like what I'm receiving is from me being like the goal is just it's just a context, right? So that's kind of what I was saying is like I'm just shifting my context, right? Like the goal was like growing my business, growing my coaching business, getting coaching clients. I'm just changing the context that I'm transforming through, that I'm expanding within. It's like a slightly different vehicle, right? And the goal just guides what actions you're taking, and it kind of gives you some structure, but you're not success once you reach the goal or get to the end point. It's in the transformation, and that's the whole point, is for you to become and transform and grow. And so you're doing it. You're already doing it right now. Like you're literally already it. So enjoy the journey. Don't rush yourself out of it. This is the good part. You're in the good part right now. This is the good part. You are in the good part right now. I'm feeling called to emphasize that. You are in the good part. This is the good part. This is a realization I had on New Year's Eve. I was like, wow, I'm so aware that like I'm going to look back on this time and be nostalgic for it and be like, those were the good old days. I miss them. And it has really been with me the first 2 weeks of the year of like, I don't want to waste this. Like, I don't want to rush myself out of it. I'm so happy to be here. I'm never going to be here again. I'm never going to be at this time in my life again. I'm never going to be here like, as a beginner with these dreams again. I'm never going to be living in this apartment once I leave it, Like there are so many things about, I'm never going to, once I have kids, I'll never be pre-kids me again. Just so many things about where I'm at in life right now that I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful to be here. I want to soak up every single minute of it. I don't want to rush myself out of it at all. I'm so excited for like everything that's to come and like I don't want to rush it. So take that with you. All right. I love you guys so much. Actually ending for real. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here with me through all of it. Have an amazing rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will talk to you next week. Mwah. Bye.